Hi, this is Anna Imagination with some really weird shit. I talk about whatever the fuck this science is. It is on the other side of science, and it is beyond biology, and whatever the fuck this science is, that is what I talk about. I have about 7 new academic disciplines. There's a couple other things in here. And instead of trying to structure, I've already structured it. I've already organized it all. It's done. But now I'm going, all right, this is the part where I get to talk about this really weird shit. And because there's no vocabulary that yet exists for all of it, there is, I made it. It's called abstractic because no one can understand abstractic. I'm sitting here going, wow, how do I explain this to the common man? How do I explain this to anybody? And without sitting down and giving you a full background on, okay, here is this really weird science, and you're going to require all of the sciences integrated into this one with all of the arts. Literally, you have to take all of the arts, all of the linguistics, and all of the language, all of the sciences, and put them together, and then you get this weird shit. It's really amazing. You get this weird shit plus a whole lot of other, it's called synergy. You get the synergy subjects. I love synergy subjects. Synergy subjects. Synergy subjects. If you're a mathematician, you know what it is. You can do the math. Do the math. Synergy subjects. So I have a lot of synergy subjects, and I was trying to figure out how best to explain all of this weirdness. And I decided, you know what? Fuck it. There's no board. There's no regulations yet. I got the prime directive in the 12 ethics. I'm good. It's ethical. I don't have to worry about shit. There's no one sitting here telling me in a stupid suit how I have to do shit for the journals. There's no journals of this stuff yet. I can do whatever the fuck I want until someone arrives and says, all right, Anna, we got to regulate this shit. So I am in the pre-regulation stages of this really awesome new science. Now, this is the best part. I have a dear friend who also has invented a new science, and his work and my work are like parallel. It connects. His is like the missing piece to mine. I was actually in the process of developing it. When he came upon my work and went, oh my God, I was in the process of developing your shit. And I had no idea. I said, well, I had no idea. So he and I collaborated. So we're trying to figure out if his science is actually a part of mine or if he has an entirely new science. But it doesn't really matter. We just have new sciences here. So now he and I talk all the time. We're like, dude, yeah, because it's great. Because, so I got a peer now. It's great having peers. So the last 2 weeks have been very, very, very difficult for me. And I'm also doing my lab journals here. I am a pioneer explorer. I'm actually an Ashavana. That's my true name. That is, I am an Ashavana. Google it. And it's a word that we really needed in our vocabulary. Well, it never should have been taken out of our vocabulary. And it's been absent for at least 2,000 years. So being able to go back and pull this back into it, reintroduce it back into the culture and talk on it is a huge, it's that thing where you're going, I don't know what I am. And you spent your whole life looking for what you are. And when you finally find it, it just clicks right into place and you know who you are. Now, as you go through the pilgrimage and your Asha journey, you're going to hit this over and over again. You're going to reach points where that's it. It's your pilgrimage and your Asha journey. And they are on a level. It is a fucking level. And when you're going through your Asha journey, you're going to find name after name. And one of the things that it took me a long time to realize this is I saw people doing what they were doing. We're just going to call that X. And it was not at all what I did, not even close. And I learned to walk away from it. I learned that is just not good for me. And trying to, well, no, you're doing what I'm trying to do. They're not trying to do what I'm doing. And that took me a long time to learn. They are not trying to do what I am doing. Not at all. And then there was a lot of, well, you need to do it this way. And they tried to make me conform to their way. And there was a lot of confusion. Now I understand why there was the confusion. The confusion is, and this is really, really important. There's a lot of people out there. And this is what I want to do. There's a lot of people out there who are on a true pilgrimage and an Asha journey. But the words were lost literally 2,000 years ago. And because the words have been absent from our vocabulary, People have no idea what it is. And to reintroduce this back into our culture, to give you the vocabulary is vital to understanding who you are and what you're really doing. It gives you perspective. It is the perspective. An Asha journey is about standards. It's about quality. Quality is about setting an expectation and never settling for less. And there's two stages of this. There's the pomposity and the arrogance and competition. That's not it. That is not Asha. You have to be, it's the pursuit of truth above all else. And it's the comprehension that you are going to value truth no matter what. It is the commitment to never lie. It's that simple. It is the commitment to never lie. And when you are put in a position where you have to tell the truth, you get yourself in a position where you are safe to do so. That is it. You must be safe enough to tell the truth. And this is a conflict for a lot of people. But truly, there is nothing else. There is to somebody who is on the Asha journey, this is not an option. There is no option here. You tell the truth. And truth is defined by knowledge and learning and fact, science. There is no negotiation. Likewise, there's no bias. So you're also combing through religious texts. You're also looking at religion. You're also looking at magic. You're looking at all of it. And you're looking for the truth. And the goal is to literally weave the braid. Well, to braid, really. You're braiding all the categories, no matter what, into the truth. And it is a journey. It's literally truth discovery without any kind of limitation. And the Asha journey is about the self. And it is about the self's relationship to truth. That is really it. And it took me a very long time to realize that what is currently out there is not at all the Asha journey. Whatever it is they are doing is not the pilgrimage. It's the Asha pilgrimage. It is different. And once I realized this is not the same thing, it allowed me to completely break off and go, this is my own. This isn't mine. This belonged to Solomon. It belonged to Zoroaster. It belonged to Pythagoras. This is not mine. They taught it to me. And when I finally was able to put it together, so this is what happened is I found Plato's work and I picked up Plato's work and I did Plato's work. I had no idea that Plato was taught by Pythagoras until about a year ago. I had no idea that Plato got his work from Pythagoras. I had never studied Pythagoras. I thought Pythagoras was a mathematician and a polymath. I was a philosopher. So I went, why the fuck would I study Pythagoras? Pythagoras' theorem. So I went, oh, he's a mathematician. So I didn't even bother with Pythagoras. That is not true. Pythagoras was the founder of philosophy, the founder of music theory, a polymath, and an Ashavana. Pythagoras was an Ashavana. Euclid was an Ashavana. Da Vinci was an Ashavana. Now, I can be understood. Becoming an Ashavana is, there are no teachers in the Ashavana. There are none. Because there are no such thing as teachers. What there are is guides, mentors, but it's the wisdom itself, it's the journey that teaches. There are no teachers. There are only life learners. And there's this break. And this is something, I wrote an article on this morning, and it really put a lot of things into perspective for me. There is this segregation that occurs between the intelligent. I really don't know what else to call this. There's the educated, the intelligent, and then there's the non-educated. And there's wisdom. And the most dumb or the most uneducated people in my group are Mensa members. Like, that's the bottom of the barrel from where I am. And then that's the mandatory starting is Mensa. And then I've got a group of super geniuses. And then I've got a group of, we have a new science. So Mensa is almost like, they are like the minimum requirement. And there's an entire culture above here. And this is where I am. And the world is different here than when you go into the other space. In this realm, we talk about education. We talk about knowledge. We all know how to measure our own intelligence. So we know the pecking order. We know where we are. We are always on the hunt for somebody smarter than us. We want to find someone smarter than us. So we'll have conversation for the sole purpose of identifying somebody's intelligence. As soon as we find someone smarter than us, it's a joy. It's an excitement. It's like, oh my God, you're smarter than me. And immediately the less smart happily becomes the student and humbles. Like, immediately we gravitate for, please let me humble myself to the smartest person in the room. So you find the smartest person in the room and you immediately humble yourself. And it's the pursuit of the smartest so we can be humbled. We want it. And that's the mindset over here. We'll have a little bit of a conversation. We'll get going. But what we're really doing, and we all know this, is we are looking to figure out who's smarter. Are you smarter or am I smarter? Or maybe you're smarter with this, but I'm smarter over here. Let's collaborate. You teach me, I teach you. And that is the mentality over here. And then you step over into the other world and it's all competition. It's they hunt you down so they can argue with you and berate you down and beat you down. It's very aggressive. That's not learning. That is aggression and war. And then, so that's easily it right there, is you have the aggression in the war. And that's the first thing you get when you leave that society. The next thing you get is I don't know how to measure my own intelligence, but I'm just going to assume I'm smarter than you and I have things to teach you. So then you have the non-consensual teacher. And the non-consensual teacher is always the dumbest one in the room. Always, always, guaranteed. Because the non-consensual teacher is too stupid to know that they're not consenting. Always. The non-consensual teacher is the least educated. And the aggressive is actually more educated than the non-consensual teacher. And so when you're over in that space and then you come over here, you're immediately met with aggression and war, people who want to out-logicize you or outsmart you just for their own ego. And it's not at all. It's called vanity. That's actually what vanity is. Look it up. Vanity means empty. It means saying words without any meaning behind them. It's called vaunt, the vaunter. Look it up. It's a real word, vaunter, vaunter, or a vaunted one. It comes from the word vanity. A vaunter is somebody who is ignorant, who teaches down. That is a vaunter. A vaunter is somebody who claims to be greater than they really are. Let me just look up the word vaunter and then I'll translate it. This is a word that should have been in our definition. A person who is boastful and talkative. They include blowhard, boaster, braggart, and line shooter. These are people who, well, there you go, a vaunter. And it comes from the word vanity. So the people who are aggressive, they literally fight for the sake of the fight and not for knowledge. They argue, and that is one of their massive traits, is they argue. They're hostile. And use the word vaunter. We need it. So you get vaunted. And then after the vaunted, you have again, it's a passive vantage. So passive vantage, that's it exactly. You have aggressive vantage and then you have passive vantage. And I don't deal with vaunters. I don't. I don't. And when you finally leave that space and you come over to this other space, we know you cannot fool, you cannot fake knowledge. You can't do it. Not with people who are 160 IQ and higher. You can't do it because they've studied so much they know bullshit. So immediately you're like free of the bullshit. And people who are on the Asha are over in the 160 plus levels. This is where they are. They are Mensa or higher. People who are the vaunters, they do something completely different. We're just over there. They're over there. So understanding first and foremost, if you are an Asha, if you're doing the Asha journey, or if you are a vaunter is a big deal. And you cannot do the Asha journey if you do not know how to measure your own knowledge or intelligence. You can't. It's mandatory. So I would say the very first rule is you have to be able to measure your own knowledge. You have to know how stupid you are. You have to know how stupid you are. And this is where and here's the thing is when you go into the vaunter community, it's suddenly this realization of, yeah, I don't know. No, it's an intolerance. I don't tolerate vaunters. And vaunters have opinion. Vaunters do not learn. They do not know how to learn. Vaunters pride ego over truth. Those who are on the Asha journey prioritize truth above ego. There is no ego. You humble. You embrace humility. You know how to learn. There are no teachers. You don't need a teacher. You never need a teacher. You can have a tutor. You can have mentors. You can have guides, but you don't need a teacher. No one teaches when you are on the Asha journey. And knowing the problem is vaunters need a teacher to teach them how to learn. But after you learn how to learn, you should not have a teacher. And which is why everything is DIY. So, and that's really it. Is an Ashavana is somebody who has reached Rata. It is when your synapses and your logic and your words are all at the same speed. When you can talk as fast as your speed synapses, when you can talk and learn at the same pace, when you don't have to pause for comprehension. Yeah. There is no pause for comprehension. That is an extraordinary sensation when you don't have to pause for comprehension, because the comprehension is already like it's fluent. You are fluent in comprehension and you are fluent in translation. My God, such liberty. I cannot explain it. I really cannot. You understand when you're in Asha, when you're on the Asha journey, that learning is actually indulgence of A and then indulgence of B. And then it's the integration of A and B. And this is true. This is it. My God. I went through the cave. The cave is when you hole yourself away and you just deal with shit. It's when you literally write your own logical code to figure out who and what you are. It is the final exam. It is when you can speak every word in truth fluently. I dare say that you have to merge kindness with it as well. When you can speak truth and be kind. That was hard because you have to be mean. You have to literally on purpose be mean. I had to be mean, but with purpose. And it was hard. I saw mean when I was 4 years old, and I vowed I will never be mean. So I never allowed myself to develop. And as a result, I kept kindness away from me for so long. And because I couldn't lie, I'm sitting here going, well, I can't fake it. So I'm just not going to pretend to be kind because I don't get it. I don't understand it. And people were like, oh, you're not going to get many friends. My goal is to get the truth, not friendships. Do I wish other people aspired to Rata? Oh God, yes. I would love to see more people aspire to Rata. But my agenda was always cherry picking the best of all of us. And that's really it. It's cherry picking the best of all of us. And when you cherry pick the best of the best, and then you put it together in an integrated whole, you have the best of all of us. And while also doing that, it was also this constant pursuit of truth. While also pursuing truth, it was also working on my logical code, so I was fluent in comprehension, as well as working on my words, so I was fluent in communication, translation, and communication. But your synapses is going at a certain speed. I had to learn faster than time in order to get ahead. We all should be learning as fast as time itself. And in order to do that, you have to go through indulge A, indulge B, and then integrate A and B. So getting this all organized and trying to figure out all of it, it was a lot. It was a lot to sort through. It was a lot to figure out. And the problem is, it's not until you arrive at Plato's point that you finally can give name to it. And for shits and giggles, I'm calling this whatever the fuck the science is, because that'd be awesome. And it was this realization. It was very hard because I had people going, you need to publish this to journals. Yeah, what journal? What journal? Math? I'm the author. I'm the author. So there's no one who is studied in this. I have to teach people, and then they can review my work. It's a completely different world. This has not been done before. So yeah, it's a completely different world. So there's a lot more here. And I'm going, wow, there's a lot more here. And there's a whole lot of pioneering to do. There's a whole lot of exploration. And I don't have any peers in my science because I'm the first one here with whatever the fuck this science is. What I am doing is actually wisdom archaeology. Oh yeah, it's knowledge archaeology. That is really what I do. It is fuck amazing. I am a knowledge archaeologist. It's one of my titles. I love it. Just like my favorite thing in the world. I said I want to be an archaeologist when I grow up, but I don't want dragon bones, dinosaur bones. I believe in dragons. Dragons exist. There's way too much substantial evidence. Dragons are real. Pterodactyls are almost dragons. You do not have to ask permission to open the window. Ever. It's not interrupting. This is, which is okay, but it's ironic. Thank you for your mindfulness. She's like, no, don't pretend I am not here. I pay no attention to the teenager in the room. So knowledge archaeology. Knowledge archaeology. Knowledge archaeology is amazing. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Knowledge archaeology. It was this moment when I was going back through everything, and I was like, what the fuck is going on with knowledge? It's like disintegrating. So it was a revival of it and getting it all back together and putting it all back together. And no one was doing it. And I'm like, oh, no. Knowledge, archaeology, that's my forte. That's all I do. So this information goes all the way back to Solomon. Literally, he's the founder. This is Solomon's knowledge. And then he built a school called the Temple. And then his students literally came to Solomon's temple and they studied Solomon's wisdom. And his most profound student was named Zoroaster or Zarathustra, who founded this thing called, this is the father of philosophy. This is like the this is where philosophy comes from. And the problem is the philosophy that we have in our culture today is not at all Solomon's knowledge, because they cut out Solomon and Zoroaster and Pythagoras. And they started it with Socrates and Plato. So as a result, it completely changed it. When you plug in Solomon and Zoroaster and Pythagoras back into philosophy where it belongs, it completely changes everything that this is. But you have to have the foundation for the philosophy to make sense. Philosophy is supposed to be an Asha journey. Did you know that in England, pharmacists are called chemists? I'm not surprised. I did. But I have a ton of Brit friends, so I was studying British. Yeah. So when you locate wisdom, it's absolutely extraordinary. Wisdom is like super knowledge. It's high school, and then you get knowledge, and then you get smart, but then you get genie, and then magi, and then logi. And those are the ranks: genie, logi, magi. Genie is genius, genie in a bottle. Magi is magician, wise man. Logi, I know what that is. Logi is God. It's God's status. Logic, God's word. Word and logic are the same thing. It's like God is the ultimate logician. And wizard means philosopher, sage. So when you start to pour all of these things together and you start to connect them and you start to say, oh, like suddenly everything makes sense. And the order of operations is you have art, and then you have communication, and then you have science, and then you have magic. And Asha is the people who go through all of them in the right order of operations. It is extraordinary. It is absolutely extraordinary. There's a lot of people who come to me who want me to validate their intelligence. I have decided I don't like that. I don't like it. I did not have anyone ever validating my intelligence. I had to figure it out for myself. And I think it's most important that we learn how to measure our intelligence. So I have added massive amounts of things inside of my videos in this entire chapter, where I just go right out and here's the clue, here's the riddle, here's the puzzle, here's the question. And, oh, look at that, I'm a sage. I mean, I know I'm a sage, but I'm acting like it now. Yes! I wanted to be here. I wanted to be here. That's what Socrates was doing. Socrates, there's some things with him where I look at him and I'm going, dude, that's not logical. So there's some things with Socrates, there's some things with Plato, and I'm just going, yeah, that's not logical. And then you correct it, and it oh my God, it cleans it up so much after you correct it. So The Asha journey. And this is it. This is what I want to talk about. There's your religions. And this is not religion. There is your philosophy. I love philosophy. But I love philosophy as Zoroaster and Solomon meant philosophy. So the word has almost no meaning at all. And then you have spiritualists. This is not at all spirituality. But religion means to do religiously. This is where it's like, well, religion means to do religiously. It means devoted. It means committed. And the closest thing I can get to all of this really is King Arthur. That was a purified form of this. That's actually what King Arthur was trying to do, was he was trying to revive the Asha journey. So I'm looking at people like King Arthur going, okay, he had it figured out. You had Pythagoras' philosophy, and you had King Arthur's Asha journey, and you have Zoroaster. So I'm looking at what Zoroaster did, and I saw his, and it was great at first. Religion didn't exist prior to him. And it was like interesting. And then King Arthur steps in. And he did his whole, it's a knighthood. There's really no other word for it. And here's the thing. Let me take a look at this. Let me look at this. This is us right now building this thing, which is what we have to do, is to flesh it out, to give it meaning. We're defining it. That's what this is. Etymology of knight. I know it's going to be Anglo-Saxon, but let's go through the works. West Germanic, Old English, Dutch, and German. Knecht. Knecht, I cannot speak at all German or Dutch. And then it became knight. It meant boy, youth, or servant. Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, listen to this. Old English, boy, youth, or servant. Servant, yes. That is a humble servant. That is knighthood. Dates from the mid-16th century. Isn't that interesting? Mid-16th century. That would be Don Quixote's fault. That would be Cervantes. Isn't that interesting? Where is my book? I need, oh wait, I have the internet. I don't need a book anymore. Okay, I can do this. So we want to go back to King Arthur. Original story. Geoffrey of Monmouth's History of the King of Britons. The first narrative is Geoffrey of Monmouth's History, a Latin work that describes Britain's history from its founding to the 7th century. In his work, Monmouth is the first to describe Arthur's reign, his wars against the Saxons, and Merlin the Wizard. Monmouth's story was later embellished by other authors, including Troy Mallory, Celtic mythology, and local. All right, so King Arthur. Let's go back to Geoffrey. According to legend, was king of Britain. He is a folk hero and a central figure in the medieval literary tradition known as the Mother of Britain. In Welsh sources, Arthur is portrayed as a leader of the post-Roman Britons in battles against the Anglo-Saxons in the late 5th and 6th century. There's another piece of the puzzle. There was no writing after the 4th century, which means it's all oral tradition, which means they would have invaded England in the 5th century. So in the 400s, right after, this is around the same time that they sent St. Patrick to go destroy the educational system in Ireland. It's the same. This is wisdom archaeology. This is it right here. I thought King Arthur was the 1100s. But here it's 5th and 6th century. He first appears in 2 early medieval historical sources. Now there is no writing, which means it's all going to be oral tradition, which means if they wiped it out, there's not going to be any written anything. So this is why it's a legend. The Annals Cambria and the Historia Britonum, but these dates, he first appears in 2 early medieval historical sources, the Annals Cambria and the Historia Britonum. But these dates to 300 years after he is supposed to have lived. That is not a sentence. But these dates to 300 years after he is supposed to have to live. This is a typo. But these dates, okay, 300 years after he was supposed to live. So he's 2nd century? And most historians who study the period do not consider him a historical figure. His name also occurs in the early Welsh poetic sources such as Y Gododdin, the character developed through Welsh mythology, appearing either as a great warrior defending Britain from human and supernatural enemies or as a magical figure of folklore, sometimes associated with the Welsh otherworld Anwen. I really need to study Welsh pronunciation. The legendary author developed as a figure of international interest largely through the popularity of Geoffrey of Monmouth's fanciful and imaginative 12th century Historia Regum Britannia. Geoffrey depicted Arthur as a king of Britain who defeated the Saxons and established a vast empire. Many elements and incidences that are now an integral part of the Arthurian story appear in Geoffrey's Historia, including Arthur's father, Uther Pendragon. Uther Pendragon, the magician Merlin, Arthur's wife Guinevere, the sword Excalibur, Arthur's conception at Tintagel, his final battle against Mordred at Camlan, and the final rest in Avalon. The 12th century French writer Chatrin de Troyes, I cannot pronounce this word, who added Lancelot, and the Holy Grail to the story that explains everything, began the genre of Arthurian romance that became a significant strand of medieval literature. In these French stories, the narrative focuses often shifts from King Arthur himself to other characters such as various knights of the Round Table. The theme, events, and characters of the Arthurian legend vary widely from text to text. So here's my concern. Are you trying to tell me that Geoffrey, when he wrote this in the 1100s, never used the word knight? Because the word knight did not come into existence until the 16th century. So now I'm looking at Geoffrey going, dude, did you really write the entire Arthurian tales as you perceived it according to history without using the word knight? How do you write author tales without using the word knight? Did it come later, according to the word and the etymology? Yes, it came later in the 1600s. So what was in place of knight between the 1100s when Geoffrey wrote it and the 16th century when French added the knights at the Round Table? So now I'm going, how the fuck do you talk about the Arthurian tales without adding the word knight? More importantly, what was there? So now it's posing the question, if they weren't knights, then what were they? Here's the other thing. Knight Templars existed in the 1100s from the Crusades. And that was the same time period that the Arthurian tales were written. How can you not have the word knight around the 1100s? That's not logical. Our history books say that there were knights at the 1100s. But according to the etymological resources, it was invented in the 1600s. Everything around the 1600s is dirty and fishy. I'm going to tell you right now. Every time the word 16th century pops up, be suspicious. You just be suspicious. 16th century, something happens. Oh, you got to dig out the politics. You got to dig out the propaganda. It's dirty. It's so dirty. An example of this is look at the philosopher Filmer, who invented the word patriarchy. But before you do that, look at King James. But before you do that, look at Richard Henry VIII. Henry VIII. Look at King Henry. So once you start to look at Henry and then King James, you also want to look at Milton, and you also want to look at Da Vinci, Shakespeare, and Cervantes. So when you start to see, and also you want to throw in there, what is your name? Machiavelli. So, and Milton. Did I say Milton? Yeah. So between Machiavelli, Milton, Shakespeare, Cervantes, Da Vinci, King James, Henry VIII, and then Filmer, there's like, there's a lot going down. So every time I see 16th century, I go, ew, and I put it over there. Ew. Now, Dante and Voltaire are interesting. Wait, is it Voltaire? Let me take a look at Voltaire. I just need to make sure the dates are right. Yeah, okay, no, never mind. Voltaire's exempt from this. No, Dante is interesting because Dante is 1200s. And I'm going, dude, what the fuck were you doing in the 1200s? Dude, that's an anomaly. So any data, anything weird going between the 4th century and where do you get it to? God, this feels so good, my brain. Oh, I finally found where my place is. And it's like, yes. So you get to the 4th century and then you start pulling out sources from up to 1440s. I'm just going to put it at the printing press. Everything from the 4th century to the 1440s is fucking fishy. Like anytime something magnificent happens in that time period, it's how the fuck did they pull that off? Because there's no education. There's no teachers going, this is how you do this. You don't. So people lived off of their intuition during this time period. So from the 4th century to the 1440, you get to literally witness history starting over from scratch. It's amazing. And then you can take from the 4th century to the 1440s and you can sit down and run it parallel to farmer-gatherer. And it's like, wow, we're restarting history. And it's amazing. But Ireland's exempt because their education system stayed intact. So they continued this gorgeous growth while the rest of Europe did not. And it's like fascinating. So then you see Dante pop up. I got Voltaire on the brain and I don't know why. So you see Dante pop up and you're like, dude. And then here's the other part. When you study the 16th century and you study everything from literally the 1550s, well, let's go to the printing press. Let's look at the 1440s all the way up to 1776. Like, I'm going to explain this to you. That is 300 years of holy fucking shit, things went down. So when you're looking at the 1440s to the 1770s, you're going, dude. And now you question everything out of the 1770s. You're like, yeah, that's questionable because I'm looking at your foundation. Suddenly it's like, we're going to put that over there. So you've got this beautiful period of 4th to 1440 where slate is clean and it's pure human intuition and you get to watch it at work. But it's not good intuition. It's tainted with Rome. So you're watching Roman intuition like unfold. And you get to compare that to all the other natural, and it is natural. Rome is unnatural. The sooner you get that in your head, the sooner all of history makes sense. Everything makes sense when you realize that Rome is unnatural. So when you sit down and you look at everything from the 4th century to the 1440, you get to see an unnatural society evolve. And then you see the whole thing go nuclear between 4040 and 1776. And you're going, wow, that's a lot. And everything prior to the 4th century is this gorgeous, this is natural humanity. And then Rome happened and it's all unnatural. And it's like, okay, let's get back to the natural part of life. And the Asha journey takes all of this into account. It's all of it. The Asha journey starts with the beginning of time, the Big Bang, and it goes all the way to the end. And then it puts everything together so you can see the ultimate picture of Rata. It's the ultimate picture. And the only way to get here is literally the 12 ethics, the prime directive, the pilgrimage, the Asha journey, and the pursuit of Rata. And there's so many ways, so many milestones along the way where you go, oh, this is it, I'm at the end. And then you, no, I'm at the end. There is no end. There is no end to Asha. And there's stages of the Asha journey. There's the healing journey. That's over. That's so fucking fast. That's so far. That's gone. And then after the healing journey, there's there's the integration. You begin the integration. So you have to do the disintegration, and then you have to do the integration, which is why I have the disintegration, and you have to do the 12 ethics backwards. That's the disintegration part. And then you can integrate them. You cannot skip that part. You must disintegrate before you can integrate. It is mandatory. The disintegration is, well, forgiveness. Forgiveness is the integration. You have to go through the forgiveness stage in order to integrate. So you have a period of forgiveness, which is the process. Humble is when you come to the ultimate point of Plato's point. And then you do forgiveness to disintegrate. And then from there, you reconstruct. Learning is this entire process. It's deconstruction with reconstruction. That's learning. It's the big picture. And because you have to disintegrate something to understand it. So it was such a hard, not having this comprehension of what the Asha journey is, not knowing that what I was doing was something entirely different from the rest of the world, was a huge challenge. And I know I've talked to people like this, where there are people who are on the Asha journey, and then there are people who are not. And the people who are on the Asha journey are going, I have no idea what this is. This is definitely not what they're doing. And they're just as confused as I am. And my Asha people, and that's it. They're my Asha people. Those are the people I'm looking for. And the problem is, Asha people are authentic and they are dedicated. This isn't part-time. You cannot do the Asha journey part-time. It is the only thing you do, is the Asha journey. It is full-time. It is life itself to them. And that is really the true thing. That is truly, it's full-time, and there is nothing else. You will give up, sacrifice, destroy, disintegrate everything for truth. Because the goal is truth. And then there is this point, and I cannot call it anything else, but it's when you become a knight. It's a knight of truth. My God, is it? It is true pilgrimage. And there's a lot of people who are throwing the word pilgrimage around, and it's sloppy. But the Asha pilgrimage, the pilgrimage, and it's a capital V. You are on the journey of becoming a knight. That's really what you're doing. And I don't know what a servant. I mean, servant is such a proper, it's a humble servant. And your dedication is to learn. Your everything is dedicated to learn and the truth. And it's a relationship with nature. You don't see a difference between nurture and nature. They are the same thing. They are synonymous. To nurture is natural. Nature nurtures. They are synonymous. It is a dedication of the preservation of language. Language is sacred to the Ashavan. There is no discussion about this. Language is sacred to us. It is the most sacred thing we have. My God is language sacred. And being able to finally say these words, there is nothing more valuable, more precious. I remember when I was watching The End of Days. No, I don't remember the name of this movie. It was a disaster film. Like all the other disaster films. Day After Tomorrow. No, that's not it. Yes, Frozen New York City. When they go inside the library. That is end of what? Day After Tomorrow? So many disaster films. Let me just look at it. Day After Tomorrow. It's when the climate shift changes. Yes, The Day After Tomorrow. I love this film so much. The Day After Tomorrow is like one of my favorite disasters. I'm addicted to disaster films. Don't judge me. I love The Day After Tomorrow. And when they are inside, oh my God, it's like my favorite. They're in the library and they're debating what books to burn. You cannot do that. You cannot burn books. Do you want to freeze to death? I'll go see what we can find. Hey, I got a whole section down here on tax law we can burn. Yes, let's burn the tax law. So that was great. And then they're having this conversation. You cannot burn that book. Well, it's Nietzsche. He was in love with his sister. But he was one of the greatest minds of the 20th century. He was in love with his sister. Nevertheless, you cannot burn Nietzsche. And then later, they're throwing the books on the fire. I like to think it's all tax law. They're just burning tax law. That's what they're burning in this library is tax law. So they're burning tax law and they're throwing it onto the fire. And one of the gentlemen, oh, he is my soul. He's the one character in this movie that would be me. He had the Gutenberg Bible on vellum in his lap. There's only 5 in the entire world. I believe there's only 5. Gutenberg on vellum. It's the very first thing ever published on the printing press. Were the Gutenberg Bibles. And he's sitting there holding it like, and this woman is like, are you religious? And he goes, no, I'm an atheist. But he's clinging to this Bible. Oh, this is so me. And she's like, this is a Gutenberg Bible. I'm protecting it. You are not putting this on the fire. And he said, I believe that the written word is man's greatest accomplishment. And it was just like, yup, those words. Language is sacred. Language is sacred. It is sacred. I do not want to call this a religion. I do not want to call this spirituality. These are not the right words for what this is. I don't know what this is yet. It is a vow. It's honor bound. The best and the closest thing I can come to it is a knighthood. That's the best thing I can come to this. And it is, language is sacred. Oh my God, is it sacred? It is the dedication and the preservation of knowledge. There is nothing else. It is everything. It's a night of knowledge. It's a wisdom night. And just for the record, this is like totally fucking badass. And this is exactly everywhere where I am going with this. And I love it. I love it. I love everything about this. Wisdom night of knowledge. And that's it. Where language is sacred. Logic is God here. Logos. There is nothing higher than logos. Because logos is truth. Logos and truth are married. That's it. Logos and truth are in a marriage. And language is sacred. Yeah, that's it. And this thing is something that those who are on the Asha journey, we just feel, we know, but we don't have the words anymore because we've lost them. We've lost the understanding. And we're looking at it going, of all the fucking things in all the world, I'm having a vision. Something just came to me and I went, oh, this was done before. This was done before. And we are wisdom archaeologists. We are knowledge archaeologists. And it's this massive ancient logic. This is ancient logic. That's what archaeology means. It's the logic of the ancient. And this is it's Asha archaeology. Asha archaeology. And it's part of it. It's so much a part of it. I loved Robin from One Piece on a level you would not believe. And I remember when they burned the books in her culture, I cried. I sobbed when they burned it. And the wizards and the scholars, I hate the word scholar. I hate it so much. Why do I hate the word scholar? That is not the right word. Etymology of scholar. Look it up. Scola, scholaris, Latin, scolieri. Oh, that sounds like Salieri. School. It gave us the word school. Scholar goes to school. Scola, scholaris, it means student. And then that led to school. But this is Latin, which means this is Roman. That's why I don't like the word scholar. I can feel it. I don't like it at all. Yeah, like every time I heard the word, I'm like, ugh. Student. See, it was discipulus. That's what it was referred to in Greek, was discipulus. And then that became disciple. And discipulus. That's it, really. If you are on the Asha journey, you are a discipulus. There you go. You are a follower of it. You are a discipulus. There's no other word for you. Discipulus. You are discipulus until you get to Ashavan, until you get to Rata. Once you get to Rata, then you are of the Ashavana. And that's it. You become an Ashavana when you arrive at Rata. And the discipulus, and before you become an Ashavana, you do become a wizard. Yeah, I love everything about these words. I love everything about these words. So you're a discipulus. And the discipulus is a pilgrim along the Asha journey. And then you get to the wizard level, and then you get to Ashavana level, and then you get to Rata level. But the standard is pure truth, logic, love. And I walked through the world trying to show people that what they had was a fragment or a piece of what I had. But it was the deterioration. It was the opposite of what I was doing. And they would relate to me. And I'm like, you do not relate to me. You do not relate to me until you understand me. And I had people relating to me without understanding. And, that's really it. You cannot relate to somebody until you understand them. Understanding must precede relatability. And that I went through a time period where people would relate to me without understanding me. And then I would get frustrated because understanding was not present. And then as they got to know me, they realized, oh, we're not the same at all. No, we're related, but not relevant. Like it's not at all connected. And then they left. And I was like, what is this? And I went through stages of, okay, I belong over here. No, I belong over here. No. And I went everywhere. And there is nothing for this. And that's when I finally realized, oh, I have to cut out something entirely new here. This is literally a new thing that I'm just going to have to carve out but you can't carve this, build it, cut it out, define it until you define it. That is what defining is. Definition is the cutting out. It's literally sculpting. Definition is sculpting, which is why you need to study sculpting so that you can study the art of definition. Sculpting and definition are hand in hand. There is absolutely no, you cannot. And then you want to simplify, and then you want to refine. And this is literally the progression of learning: sculpting, defining, simplifying, and refining. And I'm in the simplification phase now where, all right, I've defined it. Well, no, I would say I'm in the defining stage, simplifying it, where I've got it down to whatever the fuck this science is. This is some really weird shit. This is the Asha journey. This is a knighthood of wisdom. And as we define it, and then we can simplify it. And I don't know what this is. Religion is the wrong word. Spirituality is the wrong word. It is a service. It is a servitude. It is not a religion. It's a servitude. It's a humble servitude of knighthood. I cannot, I think that's just it. Like, I really need to study King Arthur because he's got all the words I need, I believe. I need to get back into my books and just go right down to the source of what did you call it? Because he already defined all of this. And I want to say, fast forward, we've got all this set up. We've got, for the common man, which is the healing garden. And that's like, there you go. This is the healing garden from the Knights of the Round Table. There you go. The Knights of the Round Table have made you a healing journey. There you go. And we've got all these things that we've made you. And it's like, there you go. If you want to know how to break stigma, there you go. You want to know how to cure disease, here you go. You want to know how to cure mental illness, there you go. And so we're putting those, it's all together. It's done. It's literally done. And then we've got our university, which is the Zoroastrian and, well, I'm calling it the Zoroastrian and Cthulhu, but the Greeks called it esoterikos. So esoterikos is really a good word for it. It's esoterikos, it's Zoroaster, and it's also Gnosticism. But this is all broken away from the spirituality. This is the science of it. It's the science of Zoroaster, esoterikos, and Gnosticism. It's the science of it. And when we dove into the truth and we carved it right out and we went right into, okay, show us what the truth is, and we got to Rata, it was this sudden realization of, oh, well, this is just Zoroaster, esoterikos, and Gnosticism, which is just the science of truth. Wow, isn't that funny? The science of truth. That's such an oxymoron. Not an oxymoron. That is so redundant. The science of truth. Well, that is what science is. The science of truth. And, well, I would say it's natural truth, which is exactly what truth is. There's no such thing. If it's man-made, it's not true. So you have natural truth. It doesn't make sense. It's just, this thing is so redundant. It's about as redundant can get. The science of natural truth. You could just call it truth, or you could just call it science, or you could call it nature. It's the same word. I want to see how many redundancies I can put into this title. The science of natural truth. Redundant, redundant, redundant. You know what I'm excited about? Is this whole thing started with Solomon. And it just went into this massive thing. And it's ending with Solomon. And I'm going, oh, look at that. There's the life code again. Thus it ends, so shall it begin. Thus it began, so shall it end. I don't remember where I read that, but thus it began, so shall it end. And it's not dust. It's love, people. Not ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It's love. Ashes to ashes, dust to... No, they got the formula all mixed up. Should have been ashes to dust, dust to ashes. Yes, yeah. It's love to understanding, understanding to love. Love to understanding and understanding to love. But it's not a catch-22 because it's the whole code. See, that's where people get this mixed up. A catch-22 is when you break up the life code into two pieces. And that's the problem. You should never, ever break that up. You do not break that up. So when you have a catch-22, it's because, well, you're stuck in a broken logical code. That's why. Because you have your beginning point, and then it expands into the degeneration. It's the disintegration. And then you reconstruct it and you're back into the beginning point. But a person with a catch-22 have a broken logical code. So it's reversed. It's disintegration. And then there's no Plato's point. It's just disintegration. That's all it is just disintegration. So you have disintegration. Yeah, your logic is, it's, I can almost see it. This is the pioneering exploration part where I can almost see the logic, and I can just, one little thing, it's like it's out of order. I know it is. I know it is. There's like a point. It's like you have to double it up so that you, yeah, that would be the most logical. You would have to double it up. You would just need to add an extra point. So it would be point, disintegration, integration, point. But in a catch-22, it would be disintegration, point, integration, point. And it's like, no, you're going to want to, but it's not that. I'm going to figure it out. I can almost see it. I'm watching my cat bat around one of his own fluff balls. I love watching cats play with their own fluff. Like, they drop their fur on the ground and then they come back to it later like, ha! And it's like, dude, it's you. It's your DNA. I love cats. Cats are just amazing people. They are amazing people. You know, talking is the only way through anything. Back to that whole language is sacred. Language is sacred. And I'm studying ancient Greek right now. And oh my God, I miss it so much. I studied Latin, but I didn't study ancient Greek. And now I'm back to ancient Greek. I studied a little, I dabbled. And now I'm like full-blown ancient Greek. I spend my evenings just reading ancient Greek, going, okay, ancient Greek, and just learning all the ancient Greek words. Ancient Greek is fucking extraordinary. And I already did Latin, but to see, oh my God, ancient Greek, that's where the truth is. That's where all the beauty is. It's just so, so beautiful. There is magic inside ancient Greek. And that's really, there is magic inside the Persian language. I can feel it. There's magic in the Persian language. There's magic in the Old Norse language. I need to say ancient Persian. There is magic in ancient Greek. Oh God, there is so much magic in ancient Greek. There is magic in Old Irish. I can feel the magic in Welsh. Good God, can I feel the magic in Welsh? That I can feel so strongly the magic in there. I'm like, that's got I could, ooh, Welsh has got something else going for it. And I'm going, I can feel the druids there. That's what it is. I can feel the druids. I can feel it. It's there. Like the bards have the Irish. The druids have the Welsh. Drui is what they were called in Ireland, the Drui, which is why my books were originally called The Tales of the Drui. Oh, but the ancient Greeks. No, that definitely, you could tell the whole language was literally invented from ancient Persian magic. Literally, all of ancient Greek was created from ancient Persian magic. Which is why everything got switched over to Latin, is because there's no magic in Latin. It's amazing. There's no magic in Latin. Old Norse, well, I can hear it in die stuff and seed. I can feel it in die stuff and seed. So magic is just the science after, on the other side of science. There's the science and then there's the other side of science. And that's where magic begins. And it's the integration of physics, psyche, energy, breath, feeling, psyche. What did I write? Physics, that's what I wrote, but I didn't have an S, I had an E, so it looked Greek instead. So physics, psyche, energy, breath, feeling, frequency, with logos, truth, it's starting to happen where when I hear logos, I just hear the word and truth. They are. I cannot. There's like a lot of science in word, and I'm just looking at it going, that's a whole subject. Like I can dive deep into the science of word, and that's probably where I'm going to go. I'm definitely going to go there. No, I'm going to go there. I'm going to mark the spot. I'm going to venture into word. I'm going to be venturing a lot into breath. My God, am I going to be walking right into breath a lot? I can feel those two things, and they call me. They call me. Yeah. Oh my God, I can feel them. Between word and breath, logos and breath, there is something definitely there. No, definitely energy as well. So the physics. Yeah. So once you start to break it down, and this is again where I'm pushing the envelope, I'm pushing into the next, like, I want to dig into there. So I'm going to be reverse engineering that. And I think that's where it is everything that's on my website, onaimagination.com. All of that area is just my research. It's all the science. It's literally this is the science. We're going to build it. We put it together. And it's the path to get me to here. And then I got here and I went, okay, this is something new. And now it's hypothesis, it's pioneering, it's exploration. And this is where I need to be. This is absolutely where I need to be. But there's this feeling, this knighthood, this servitude. It's as if I'm in the laboratory of the university of knighthood. And it's, God, I wish I could explain this. I'll get the words. And once I get through the right words, I'll find the right words. And I'm like, aha, we figured it out. And this is, again, just the definition and this is why you need to talk. It's called exploratory dialogue. Exploratory dialogue is required for your speech centers of your brain, for your comprehension, for your language development. It's required. And you need to put in at least 90,000 talking hours to get to this point. So it's mandatory. Like, it is mandatory. It is one of the core mandatory. You need to develop your speech skills. There is no oral tradition is the only way to do this. Oral is God here. Like, there is nothing else here. It's there. You have the written word, but you far surpass written word, and then you enter into oral word. And once you are complete with a written word, the oral word, like there's no exceptions. It's oral tradition. This is why it's called a philosopher bard. It's a whole nother fucking level. I was a philosopher bard for a while, and then I went wizard, and I'm going, all right, this is like shaping into this thing. It's giving definition to it. So you're looking at 90,000 hours of talking hours. And this is something you cannot be exempt of. Because you cannot do this if your synapses is not aligned with your comprehension and also your translation. And it's having the words, having the comprehension, and that's it. The words are the comprehension. The words are the comprehension. And basically what happened is, this is what's going on with our society, our culture. We have a few things going on. First, you have resource partitioning of the brain. That is what you have. You have resource partitioning of the brain going on en masse. And I'm all done with that. I'm resource partitioning of the brain. And I talked yesterday on this is what you need to do to reverse that. So the resource partitioning of the brain en masse, you have that en masse. And then you have this vauntage. You have this vaunting society. There's no other word for it. You have this passive and you have aggressive vaunting happening. And then you have, God, it feels so good to give word to all this. And then you have we're going to call it sacrilege of word going on, which is just. So between the resource partitioning of the brain en masse, the vaunting society, and the sacrilege of word going on, resource to rise. Rise again, recover. Yes, surge to rise. That does not feel right. What's the ancient Greek word for resource? Do you know? That does not feel right. Source. That does not, there's illogic in that, and I can feel it, which means somebody done fuck up. Let me look at that. I want to go back to it. It doesn't, there's no relativity to it. It's supposed to look like the word. There isn't much information about the ancient Greek word for resource right now, but here's some related information. See, like I said, I can feel it when it's energy. No. Yeah. See, this is it right here. This is beautiful. Let me translate this. This is somebody mistranslated Asha language. So this is what the Zoroasters passed it over, and because it was misunderstood. So the word resource was botched by the Romans because they didn't understand it. Energy, energia, I cannot pronounce this because I'm reading it, so I have never heard this word. This is the ancient Greek word for being at work. It's energy. And that is as close to resource as they can get. A Greek word developed by Aristotle. So Aristotle invented this. Aristotle is my peer. We both had the same teacher. So Aristotle came up with energy for the word resource. But he, being a student of Plato, was actually translating it from Asha. Anagnoris. Now there you go. See the Gnosis? That's Gnosticism. So that's actually what gave birth, and what that means is knowledge, which is, well, correct. Agnostic means I don't know. Gnostic means the science of knowledge or knowing. And it's what would give word later to, when you look at the development of G into K, because in the ancient Greek, ancient Latin language, K did not exist. That is a later letter that came much later. So as a result, Gnostic became the word knowledge. So here you can see recognition, cognitive, comes from Gnostic, which means to know. Now, when you look at the word anagnorisis, that's Anna. We have to look up the word Anna, which is norisis, which is knowledge. So this is Anna knowledge. Anna knowledge. That is exactly what this means. Anna knowledge. Literally, anagnorisis. A Greek word that means recognition. You know what? Fuck it. We're going to do it. This is Anna knowledge. It means recognition. It's the science of recognition. Or maybe I'll do more research on this later. And is used in ancient Greek literature to describe a hero's sudden realization of a situation or relationship. It's epiphany. It's epiphany. Sudden realization is epiphany. So anagnorisis or recognition is epiphany. There you go. Thank you very much for that. See, you gave me resources, and I'm like, there's like a whole lot of filth around there. There's a lot of misinformation. But when we looked at the ancient Greek word, it's like we don't know much about it. And that's because they were in the process of developing it. But it got lost in translation due to, yes.
The word re and repeat, resource.
Yeah, see, I'm hearing the word source. So what we want to do is we want to use morphology. Go ahead.
It sounds like they're redoing.
It does sound like a redo. Yes. Re means, to do over, to do again. Come back. Think about coming back. Re means to come back from. Revive.
It sounds like they're putting in, it almost sounds like they're like redoing like sources. Like they're putting
source.
In source.
Right. So the question is, where does the word source come from? So look up the word source for Latin and Greek. You'll get a much clearer, more refined answer from that. Linguistics. It's everything. It's everything. It's the logic. It's the personification of logic. Word is the personification of logic. See, we're back to surge. It's the same word. Yeah, this is sloppy. No, this is bullshit. Source, surgere, surge. Old French, sordre, to rise. Source, Old French. They did not have a word for source for almost 500 years or so. That's Old French. Old French is like 5th century. Isn't that interesting? How can you have an entire economy without the word resource? Because they did it. They had an entire economy without the word resource. The ancient Greek word kephale can mean source in some contexts, and in the Bible, 1 Corinthians, where it can also mean base or derivation. So ancient Greek word kephale. Interesting. Here we go. How to say source in Greek, but that's not ancient Greek. So kephale. So I need to look up the word kephale in detail. Kephale. Thank you, Liz. Kephale. Kephale, kephale, kephale. Okay, so it's all over the Greek New Testament. Okay, here we go. Wiki. Kephale, Attica, New Testament, Byzantine Empire. Oh, that's going to put us in the Roman era. Let's go Attica. What's Attica? It's deemed of ancient Attica. Okay, Thessaly, Macedonia. All right, now we got somewhere. So kephale, ancient Greek, was a deme of ancient Attica. Deme, what does that mean? In ancient Greece, a deme was a suburb. Okay. Well, I don't know. This is the first time I've seen it. I don't know.
I've heard demos before, and that means demon.
Interesting. In ancient Greek, interesting. Demos was a suburb or a subdivision of Athens and other city-states. So a demon could have evolved from that in reference to the ancient Greeks. Are you kidding me? Did they actually use the word demon to label ancient Greeks? That's logical, and the words all match. Wow. Deme or demos was a suburb or a subdivision of Athens and other ancient states. Demes are a simple subdivision of land in the countryside. Wow. Angel is Latin, messenger of God. Angels and demons. Wow, that's dirty. That is a smear campaign against Greece. Wow. So kephale was a deme of ancient Attica, or of the file, tribe or clan, Acamentus, that appears from the order in which it occurs in the list of Pausanias, which is a Greek traveler, to have been situated south or east of this location called Hymettus. So this is all the region of ancient Greece, perhaps in the neighborhood of Braun, where Ludwig Ross found an inscription containing the name of this deme. Cephale possessed a temple of the Dioscuri, who were here called the great gods. The site of kephale is located east of the modern Keratia. This is where the word source comes from. It did not show up until the 5th century. They built an entire economy without the word resource. That is extraordinary. Interesting. Oh, I'm going to be digging deep into this. God, it feels so good to be back. It feels so, so good to be back here. My God, I love ancient Greece, ancient Rome. I missed it so much. Okay. Interesting. So the situation with today is you have resource partitioning of the brain en masse. You have a vaunting society where you are either a passive vaunter or an aggressive vaunter. You have sacrilege of word. There is no other word for that. It is a sacrilege. I'm going to Google the word sacrilege to make sure I'm using the right word. The word sacrilege is a noun that means to violate or disrespect. This is exactly the word I want. Let's confirm the etymology. Sacrilege, etymology. Old Middle English, sacrilegium, stealer of sacred things. Nope. Legere, take possession of. Okay, no, I'm standing by this one. Sacrilege. It is a sacrilege of word. So you have sacrilege of word going on. You have vaunting society. You have resource petitioning of the brain. And when you look at these three things and you break it down and you go, oh, no wonder you're disintegrating. You are literally violating sacrilege of word, which is the violation of logic itself. So yeah, it's going to completely deteriorate your brain, which is why now and here's the thing, is language is contagious. There is nothing more contagious than language. So if you have somebody who is sacrilegious with word, and they're literally destroying logic as they speak, and then they come around you and they're using disintegration, literally it's the language of disintegration right in their speech. Now my mimic mirror repetition response is going to absorb that. It's going to take it right into my brain. Now I am disintegrating. Now I've caught it. So if you use disintegration in your language, which is the sacrilege of word, then it's highly contagious. You're going to become a vaunter and you're going to end up with resource petitioning of the brain. And it's all because of the sacrilege of word, because it's literally passed through the language. It is a language disease. You've got a language disease, bottom line. And I was able to track it down to, you've got vaunting, and that's one disease. Pedophilia, that's another disease. And well, those are your only two diseases. You've got two diseases. And both of them are the sacrilege of word. And how much a person, what they say, how they say it, just reeks of, oh, good God, does it? It reeks of their language. It reeks of their disease. And you can tell how much they use it, what they're saying. And now it's in ratio to, wow, they're using the language this much. That's how deteriorated they are. And then you can start to track their physical symptoms, and you can track their mental symptoms. Mental always precedes physical symptoms. Mental always precedes physical symptoms. Mental always precedes physical symptoms. Physical symptoms are caused by mental illness, which is caused by the language you use. It's coming from the language. So that's what I did. I purified the language and I returned it and restored it back to the ancient Greek. And then I use it. And I use the language. I literally used the language to heal myself. Now it takes about 3 months. So 3 months of continual comprehension, continual logic skills, continual just being exposed to it. And the more I learned this, the more I was able to purify my own language and then I use cognitive behavioral therapy to intersect, but actually that's just mathematics. So let's get rid of that schlop and let's actually call it what it is. I used math to literally disrupt the synapses in my brain and redirect what I was thinking. And I used math and logic to redirect the thoughts in my mind so that I could take it into a different format. So I want to show you something. There's cognitive behavioral therapy, and then there's dialectical behavioral therapy, and then there's this shit. So this is like, we squash DBT over here. We're like, oh yeah, that's kids play. That's what this is. This is whatever the fuck this science is. It's like noobs. You guys have no idea what DBT, like that's, what are you doing? So it's literally DBT on steroids is what we've got over here. That's it right there. It's DBT on steroids. It's like, oh, it's souped up. But we don't call it all their garbage names because that's a lie, because they've tainted the language. So we call it by its actual name, which is math and logic. So instead of getting all their fanciful garbage names, we're just calling it math and logic. And it's basically a purification of the language to restore it back to its original meaning, which is truth. Because the word is truth. Word and truth are like, oh, there's a relationship there. The truth births the word. So the truth is a parent of, I will get this, guys. A word This is really what it sees. See, logic purifies truth. Truth births word. Word is logic. And so you've got this, literally, this self-nurturing engine logic, truth, word that just constantly rotates. The logic proves the truth generates the word enhances and grows on the logic. The logic gives you more truth, the truth gives you more word. This is knowledge. This is literally the heart. This is the pulse. This is the of everything. This is breath. And in the middle of this logic, truth, and word is breath. And then you get it so fast. The logic, the truth, the word becomes so absolutely structured, so strong that it produces energy, which is the source. This explains why Aristotle would call it source, because there it is. It's logic, truth, word, breath. It's beautiful. And then that generates and produces an energy. And when you are casting spells, you're speaking. Like, this is all spell work. This is the core of spell work. And the discipline, there's no schooling that we can give you to say, do this product and then you'll get this. You can't do it. You cannot measure education through knowledge. You have to measure your knowledge through skills. You have to measure your knowledge through skills. So skills are your metric for knowledge, which is why employers ask for your skills, is because they're looking for a metric of your knowledge. But it's not just, oh, I have the skill. Great. Are you an apprentice at this skill? Or are you a master at this skill? Now we're getting into skill development. I'm going to be starting skill development here soon, because this is it. And there's a lot of stuff that just keeps, like, there's all this stuff that keeps revolving around it and it keeps coming back to it. So once we hit all of these component points, then we get to talk about skills. But this is it right here, is understanding when you step into your Asha journey, you are looking at being an apprentice. Are you looking at being a tradesman? You have to decide which skills you want to take which level. I have chosen to not take my art skills really beyond tradesman. I don't give a shit. I don't know if that will ever change, but for now, I have like no priority. It's no priority. No priority on skill X. And that's okay. And then in addition to it, you have to define the quality or the standard. The quality or the standard. Now, when you choose quality or standard, that's where you're going, okay, do I want to be an apprentice? Do I want to be a tradesman? Do I want to be a master? Do I want to be a philosopher? Do I want to be a sage? Do I want to be a genie? Well, I would say this is genie, and then this is magi, and then this is logi. And there you have it. So now it's okay. Are you going to be an apprentice? Now, some people are going to jump right over and go, well, I want to be a logi. Oh, you've got a lot of work cut out for you. You are looking at literally knowing and mastering at least 80% of all the academic disciplines. At mastery level, no, that could be one. To reach the philosopher, the sage level has to be 80% of all academic discipline, mandatory. You have to be a master at 80% of all academic discipline. You have to have an 80% of all knowledge. That's its sage. And that's when you could start integrating it. I don't have calculus in me. And my God, does it show. I can feel it. It's driving me crazy lately. I'm going, and it's a constant holdback. I can feel it. I'll go and calculate something and the calculation is fine. But the ability to do the time, I can't do time because I don't have calculus. And I know that. So I'm looking at it going, okay, now I'm at a point where I definitely need to start studying calculus. I'm very excited about this endeavor. And I just can't figure out if I want to reverse engineer it or if I want to actually study it. And neither one of them is hitting me at the moment right now. Like, it's definitely pending. It's there. It's building. I can feel it bubbling up, but it's not time yet. So I'm going, nope. That's going to be in my future. It's just not, that's not time yet. What I really want to do is have somebody study me while I study it, just to monitor and track how fast I can learn all of mathematics and calculus. Like, I want to measure my speed of learning. But in order to do that, I need a master mathematician who can actually track it and knows what I'm doing, so they can sit down and like just monitor it. But I kind of want to do my own reverse engineering of it so that they can track my progress of reverse engineering it and watch my process, because they'd be able to translate my process and learn so much just by watching the way I do it from reverse engineering, because they already have calculus. They already have it. I could do it live, because then they would be able to just go back and then study how I do reverse engineering on it. But I would have no way of knowing. Yes, I do. I would know if this is how you know you've studied it properly. You know you've studied it properly when you can move on to the next stage and it flows. It flows. You have no disruption. You're not confused. That means you've learned it thoroughly. If you have to constantly stop and go back, and this is how I learn it. I learn and then I hit a speed bump. So then I learn. And then I go again and I hit another speed bump and then I learn. And then when I go back and then I do it all again and it's fluid, I've learned it. And then I hit the next speed bump. Then I learn. And then I do it again, I hit another speed bump, I learn. I do it again, I hit another speed bump, I learn. And then I can integrate it and then I move all of it. And if it runs smooth, you got it. And that's how I reverse engineer everything. So when you can finally put it together and can build it and there's no obstruction, if you don't have to stop to learn and you understand it, you understand it. But you've got to be honest with yourself on your relativity to truth so that you're not making fiction as placeholders to plug it in. You have to be knowing when you're putting in a placeholder. And when you put a placeholder in, you need to mark it as, this is an hypothesis. This is going to be a placeholder until I can find the truth. I love this life of mine. I love everything about this world. And the hardest part about Asha, without the words, you don't know what you're doing. You can feel it. You're doing it. You're following your intuition. But there are Asha intuitives, and there's no other word for it. It's an Asha intuitive. I was an Asha intuitive. And being an Asha intuitive is fucking difficult because you're alone and you have no idea what you are. You're just like, I don't understand what it is. So you call yourself a life learner. A life learner, and this is it. You've got life learners and then you have Asha intuitives. A life learner, logic. All Asha intuitives are life learners. Life learners are not all Asha intuitives. There you go. So an Asha intuitive is a subgenre of a life learner. There you go. You have your hobbyists who are life learners. I am not a hobbyist. I am an Asha intuitive. I was an Asha intuitive for so long. Now, the next question you want to ask yourself is, I'm definitely an Asha intuitive. You got to figure out what level you are. You have to know what level you are. And the level you're at, we're going to talk about this. What level are you of an Asha intuitive? Are you an Asha intuitive? That's something we're going to talk about. Oh, I love that. Are you an Asha intuitive? And then the next question you're going to want to ask yourself is, what level are you? And understanding what level you are at as being an Asha intuitive is vital. But the very first mandatory thing is truth is God. Truth is God. Logic is God. And they are married. They are married. And when you combine logic and truth, you get love. This is not, there's nothing else here. Logic plus truth equals love. And then you have this word. Word is sacred. Word is sacred. It is there. There is nothing else. This is not in the logical comprehension. From there, it is the priority of growth. Oh my God, I love all of this. It's the priority of growth above all else, which is truth, logic, love, which is word, which is the journey. And when you look at all of this, is the pursuit of pure truth. And that's it. I feel like when I got here, I was trying to break what I had to get it to fit something else. And then I was trying to break other people to get them to fit into this. And it wasn't working. It's not supposed to work that way. It's contaminated. You cannot take something contaminated and add it to Asha. You cannot. You cannot take something that's contaminated and add it. You have to purge it first and then add it. And I finally was able to realize this is something different. And now it feels like a seed. And it's like, oh, well, it is a seed. I've got to plant it. I know how to do that. So I plant it. And that's what this is. It's a planting of Asha. And then it's to nourish Asha. So now I'm in the nourishing propagation stage of I am going to just nourish Rata. And I am going to nourish whatever the fuck this science is. Because that this is what we do. This is the next stage. You got to do it. Which is why they all started their own universities. It's because, okay, I got this thing. I got to plant it now. And that's what they were doing is they were putting up universities all over the place to plant it, to reseed it. The problem is I'm sitting here going, okay, who are my clients? You don't sell Asha. You do not sell Asha. What are you doing? You do not sell Asha. So yeah, that's it really. This is beyond money. Like that's so fucking stupid. So it's literally like, okay, I've got this thing now. I've got Rata, and now I got to nourish it. This is whatever the fuck this science is. So knowing if you are an Asha intuitive, and I'm going to tell you right now, when you hear this word, when you hear this language, there's a part of your brain that goes, oh my God, this is it. You're it. You're it. You're absolutely it. Now you got to figure out what level you are at. We're going to be talking about that later. We're probably going to be talking about that all week, is what level you are at in your Asha intuitive journey, in your Asha journey. And it's that exactly. It's the understanding that art and language communications and sciences are 1/3 of the bigger picture, and they've got to come together. It is the integration of these three things of your, literally, it's art and communication and science, and the three of them merge together. That if you are, this is something that I'm just going to read from my logic here because this is driving me crazy. If you are an artist and all you do is art and you just gravitate to art, you are not an Asha. You have to, there is no favoritism. There is no favoritism. They're all equal. That's why I'm not an artist, is because, well, that would defy my linguistic and that would defy my science. They must be an equal balance between all three of them. If you go, I'm an artist, no, we're done. And this is where I am a musician. This is what I am. I am a musician, and I am logic, and I am physics. But those are my three ingredients for Asha. I cannot choose between my musician and my physics. I cannot do that. I cannot choose between my logic, and this is not a conversation we're going to have. They're literally equals. And it's understanding, and when I can feel one decreasing, it's the urge to want to nourish it back up. So they have to be nourished equally. That is mandatory in my brain. They have to be nourished equally because I require all of them. I believe sculpting is really where I fall when it comes to the art and the paint. I do art, I do paint, but sculpting, I think that's really it. Is sculpting is that's, oh my God, yes, I do pottery. You have no idea. I have like potter's wheels picked out. You have no idea. 20 years. 20 years. I have been like, I want a potter's wheel. No, I have plans. My only problem is, what the fuck am I going to do with all of my vases? I'm going to have so many vases. What am I going to do with all of my pottery? Like, it's going to be stupid. I'm going to sell it on Etsy. That's what I'm going to do. Buy some of my pottery. That's probably what I'm going to do. Is eventually I'm going to have like a little Etsy store. It's so funny that this all ends with Etsy, where I just sell my pottery, because what am I going to do with it? And I'm at that point with my knitting where I've maxed out all of my knitting, and then I lost a good chunk of my knitting, so I have to replace all of my knitting. So after I've replaced my knitting, I'm going to get to a point where I'm like, all right, I'm just going to knit because I have to knit, because that's logic. And knitting is logic, okay? Knitting is logic. I have to knit. And it's, that's really it. I almost want to say you have to be a logician to study, you have to knit in order to understand logic. You really do. Knitting and logic are like, they're the same thing. Every time I knit, my daughter's like, are you organizing your geometry? I am organizing my geometry. Yes, because it's a string and I'm putting it into the same identical loop over and over again on a full, yes. I am organizing my geometry. I'm organizing my string. That is what I call knitting, organizing string organization. It makes me very happy. You have no idea. String. Oh no, it must be organized. Knit. That's it. And then I wear my geometry. So, yeah, this feels good. This feels. This is really settling in. I feel like I'm building up a house, and I'm like, yes, I'm going to put the cushions over here, and I'm going to put the couch over there, and we're going to have the cuddle puddle over there, and it feels really good. It really feels like trying to get to this stage. You can't do it without the words, because the words are the fuel of the comprehension. So knowing what level of this journey you are on, this is the hardest part for people to accept, because they like to think they're farther along, because we're talking a shit ton of fucking work. A shit ton of fucking work. I was 1984 when I began this. And then 1992 was a massive, I would say 1988 was also another massive year for me, but it wasn't. 1992 was really a milestone. 1995 is when it became official. And just for reference, 1984, I was 4 years old, and that's when I was like disintegrating the logic of the church. And then 1992 is when I was already studying deep into philosophy. I had about, I was huge into music. I was huge into philosophy. I already had like 5, I was well underway with 5 developments, and then with 5 academic disciplines. And then in 1995, it became official, and I went, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm a learner. And that was when I was 15 years old. At that time, I was composing operas, I was composing musicals, I was writing books, and I was studying geometry, mathematics. I was studying proofs, logic, philosophy. That's when I read Sophie's World. And this is where, from 1995 and on, especially from 2001 and on, from 2001 to 2020, I was dealing with severe trauma. So the amount of education that took place between 2001 and 2020, this is where things really, my Asha journey got disrupted. And it went through, well, basically in 2006, I started writing books. And from 2006 to 2015, that was when I did an entirely different study. That's when I studied literature, linguistics, again, writing, word, the history of everything. Like, I consumed so much between 2006 and 2015. And then my healing got involved, and everything shut down. Also, between 2001 and 2015, I did nothing but study psychology at that point, human psychology, sociology, human behavior, and yeah, it was psychology, sociology, all of it. And then I went through, 2015 to 2020. And that was when I was trying to do Wonderland's bullshit. At 2020, I fired Wonderland and decided to do it myself. And that is really when, so from 2020, I was in the oasis. I was in the oasis, I would say from 2018 to 2022, I was in the oasis. And then in 2022, I got out of the oasis. And in 2023, I finished the journey. And after, so there you go. So looking at the Asha journey, my problem is I have so much trauma interfering with my Asha journey that if you don't have trauma, it's going to be very interesting to see how fast it goes for you. I'm very, very, very excited to see this in other people. I did this with trauma. So if you want your child to go on the Asha journey, if you're a parent going, oh my God, I want this for my child, you are talking about a level of education, and the child has to choose it. I cannot, but it's also natural. It's also very natural. So if you leave the child alone, so what a parent, if you want this for your child, the parent will have to nourish it into their child, but then you don't have to nourish much because it's natural. This is how we are supposed to be. And once you get, and what you choose to do with it, I want to revive it because it's not in our culture. Oh, it pisses me off that it's not in our culture. It's always pissed me off that it's not in the culture. I'm going, what the fuck is this not in our culture for? So that is my calling, is put this back in the culture. Put it back. So that's my mission. Put it back. That is all my mission. There's going to be people who are like, I want to pick this up and continue it. They want to carry the torch. So there's going to be torch bearers. And that's really what I'm looking for, is torch bearers. We're going to go back to the Olympics because they had all the right words. So my agenda is put it back. And I'm reviving it and I'm restoring it. And in this case, this is where I feel very much like Zarathustra going, yeah, we need to, or Solomon going, okay, we need to get this to other people. That's my mindset. Pythagoras did the same thing. Okay, well, let's pass it on. So it's literally the torch bearer. I'm really hoping that it will go back to, it'll follow the same pattern as Solomon, so that he had his temple and people just, and then you had one student who went, okay, let's really expand this out. And there's nothing he's already done it. He already did it. I just have to follow his example. So he called it a temple. That would be really convenient. I can't call it that because now the word's been tainted. So and I love university for so many reasons, because it's universal. I love that so much. University, universe. So that's going to stay. University is truly academia. Plato was academic. I don't like that. That's always bothered me. Lyceum. Let's take a look at Aristotle's word. Aristotle called his a lyceum. Oh, I should probably add in here lyceum etymology. I don't know. So the English word lyceum comes from the Latin word lyceum, which comes from the Greek word lykion. Lykion was the name of a gymnasium in Southeast Athens that was dedicated to Apollo Lycus. Oh, all right, there we go. The area was also home to a sanctuary of Apollo. Well, it would be Lyceus, Apollo Lyceus. So who is Apollo Lyceus? Yes, correct. Apollo, I believe, I don't know. Apollo Lyceus. What is this? Who is this? Apollo Lyceus, also known as Lycean Apollo, originated from Praxiteles of Athens, the son of Cephisodorus the Elder, the most renowned of the Atticus sculptors. Okay. So it was a sculptor. A sculptor gave name to Lycean Apollo, and known, there's one of these at the Louvre, and known from many full-size statue and figurine copies, as well as from the 1st century BCE. Athenian coinage is a statue type of Apollo, showing the god resting on a support, a tree trunk or a tripod, his right forearm touching the top of his head, and his hair fixed in braids on the top of the head, and a haircut typical of childhood. It's called Lycian, not Lycia itself. But after its identification with the lost work described, through not attributed to a sculptor by Lucian as being unshown in the Lyceum, one of the gymnasia of Athens. According to Lucian, the god leaning on a support with his bow and his left hand, his right hand resting on his hand, is shown as if resting after long effort. Its many exemplaries in the Apollyon, the attribution based on the types, elongated proportions, elongated pose, and so on, anatomy. This is just sculpting. That makes sense. See, gymnasiums were meant to sculpt the body. That makes sense. So Aristotle's Lyceum was actually a gymnasium. That makes so much more sense. Gymnasium was a place to sculpt the mind and or the body. And in point of fact, the Greeks did not see a difference between the two. You sculpt the body to sculpt the brain. So what Aristotle had was a Lyceum. And what Plato had was an academia, which is the practice or the praise of the academic disciplines. I don't agree with either one of those terms. They do not suit me. I am all about universal, the universe. This is the study of the universe. So this is university. So that's what I see it as. Now, temple, oh, now I have to get into, I mean, the first temple is Solomon's temple, which means he is literally the name right of the word temple. So this is going to be interesting. I'm going to type in the word etymology of temple, and it's going to reference Solomon. And maybe I'll be able to see what language did he speak? Did he speak Persian? Temple etymology. Let's find out. Okay, see, no, this is wrong because it's saying, no, Latin. No, it did not come from Latin. It came from, no, this is not from templum. So they took temple and then they changed it over to templum. So now let's, biblical word for temple. Place of worship, holy place. Okay, strong, concordance, heckle. A palace. Ancient Greek word for temple, naos. Okay, let's just do it this way. Where was King Solomon's temple? Okay, Jerusalem. Let's question the source. Just to triple double check, because there is so much bias that you don't trust anything. So archaeologist Israel Finkelstein, not sure which, writes that the exact location of the temple is unknown. It is believed to have been situated upon the hill that forms the site of the Second Temple and present-day Temple Mount, where the Dome of the Rock is situated. According to the Bible, Solomon's temple was built on Mount Moriah in Jerusalem, where an angel of God had appeared to David. But again, this is all tainted, and we can't trust it because there's too much interference. Schmid and Ruprecht are the view that the site of the temple used to be a Jebusite shrine that Solomon chose in an attempt to unify the Jebusites and Israelites. We don't know. All right, let's try this. What was King Solomon king of? Okay, king of Israel, Solomon. Okay, here we go. Also called Jedediah, was a monarch of ancient Israel and the son and successor of King David. Oh, there we go. Okay. According to the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament. Well, that's according to like all of the Bibles. Like all of the religions agree on this. So ancient Israel. Judah. Let's go back in time. Let's go way back in time. So let's look at Israel. Ancient Israel. I've done this research already, but it was like decades ago. Decades ago I did this. Is it Canaan? Let's go all the way back. By the way, Cain. Yeah. Spans from the early appearance of the Israelites. Let's go all the way back. Okay. 995. Okay, so Iron Age. So I want to go Iron Age. So this is the Iron Age of Israel. That's where we're going back to. It's the Iron Age, the first period of Israel. I need to know what this place was called. Well, Middle East, but it's so vague to call it the Middle East. Isn't it the Fertile Crescent? No, it's not. I need a map. I need to say it's in relativity. God, this has been so long since I've done this research. Middle East. the idea would be to go back to the original language of whatever it was King Solomon spoke. What language did King Solomon speak? Clearly, he did not speak English. What dipshit decided to clarify that he did not speak English? What a dumb fuck. English did not exist in 1000 BCE. What dumb fuck decided to actually write that? Wow. Hebrew. Ancient Hebrew. Aramaic. King David and Solomon spoke Hebrew, Aramaic, and some other foreign language. So Hebrew and or Aramaic. Like I said, there is so much Hebrew and Aramaic. They may have learned Arabic. It would not have been called Arabic back then, though. I think it would have been called Persian. I'm not sure. I'd have to research more. What is the original language of the wisdom of Solomon? That's exactly what I'm looking for. Somebody asked it. This is from the Jewish Quarterly. The ancient trunk of the Bible is surrounded by... Okay, I can't read this. This is way too... I need an unbiased opinion. All right, so... Oh, Salah. Okay, so here's Solomon in Islam. Let's see what they say, and then we'll compare notes. In Islam, is described as a Nabi, prophet in Islam, ruler of the Israelites. It sounds like no one can agree on who the Israelites were. That's what this sounds like. Since the rise of Islam, various Muslim historians have regarded Solomon as one of the greatest rulers in history. Oh, he was. Like, that's across the board. Solomon's rule inspired several Islamic leaders throughout the history. Solomon is regarded to have been bestowed by God the gift to speak to animals and jinn. Furthermore, was granted the ability to enslave the devils. Persian, Romanized with the help of his staff, given by God. Generally, Islamic tradition holds that the third ruler of the Israelites and a wise one is the third ruler of the Israelites. Okay, so the question is, who were the original Israelites? And that seems to be the question, is who were the original Israelites? All right. So there is a prejudice, a bias. That bias looks and sounds a very certain way. And you can smell it out. It has a stink to it. And that stink is really, really, really strong when you get into Nicene Christianity. And you can tell when it's there, you can tell when it's not. It's just the bias. And when I smell it, when I sniff it out, I walk away from it every time. It's like, nope, I don't want modern sources. I want actual ancient artifact. And the problem is everybody is, well, not everybody. There are certain groups that are wanting to put their flag in and say, Israel, it is ours. And I don't want to touch any of that because I'm in the process of looking for truth. And I don't want to get involved in that, not even a little bit. So digging out the history and trying to find out precisely where Solomon was, what language he spoke, is going to do a lot to tell me where the language came from. Now, this is interesting. I can't figure out where the word temple comes from. According to etymologists and linguists, it's Latin. That's bullshit. No, it's not. The word in Latin is templus, which means that's already been morphed. The original word was temple. So let's try, what is the word temple in the Bible? And let's look at the word temple in the Quran. What is the word for temple in the Bible? All right, let's do it this way. The words will reveal the truth. What is the, it's amazing how this is buried, original word for temple in ancient Hebrew. Hebrew does not really have a word for temple. In the Hebrew Bible, what we call the Jerusalem temple is called mikdash, which means that which is holy. Now we're getting somewhere. Mikdash. So mikdash is the ancient Hebrew equivalent for temple, which is called that which is holy. Now, let's look up I guess it would be the Persian word for temple. Ancient. It has to be ancient Persian word for temple. Fire temple, Zoroastrian. Persian, Darb-i-Mer, door of kindness. Gujarati is the place of worship in the followers of Zoroastrian, the ancient religion of Persia. Atar, altar. Altar, atar. An altar is Persian. There is altar. Altar. And that's word. So you got to study linguistics to know this. Atar is ancient Persian for altar. So the true etymology of altar is Persian. Zoroaster, which is why they have the fire. The fire altars. Every fire altar in the entire Old Testament now makes sense. It was the fire altars of Zoroastrian that, this is not going to go well for a lot of people, and that's okay. All right, so now, ancient Persian word for temple. The ancient Persian word, ataskada. This is the ancient Persian word for a fire temple, is ataskada, fire temple. Okay, so we can cross out Persia as a source, ataskada, fire temple. Where did the word temple come from? No, that's later. But that's actually a good point. That's actually a really good point. Temple of the face. My daughter just pointed out the biology of the temple. This is the temple. The mind is the temple. Temple. What is the ancient Hebrew word for mind? Brains, kidneys, and spirit. Baal. Let's look up the ancient Persian. This is wisdom archaeology. This is what it looks like. Ancient Persian word for mind. This is extraordinarily this is buried. Wow. Proto-Indo-Iranian, manas, as in manus, manna from heaven. Cognate with Avestan manna, Old Persian. Manna. Wow. The Avestan word for mind is manna, as in manna from heaven.
As in manifest.
Wow, that's really manna, manifest. So when you study ancient Persia and Zoroaster, you start to see little trademarks, like all the fire temples. You see the Zoroasters with the priests. You see how they used to behave back then, that they dressed all in white. And then you watch a movie like Prince of Egypt. And suddenly the Egyptian priests don't look like Egyptian priests. They look like Zoroasters. I remember Elijah. And maybe it was Elijah. I never can tell the two apart. But it was the one, I'm sure it was Elijah, where he prayed. There's a competition between the Zoroaster priests and the Hebrew priest. And the Hebrew prophets compete with the Zoroastrian priests. The thing is, and this is what's really fishy, Zoroaster is King Solomon's knowledge, which is like God himself gave it to King Solomon. So the Hebrew priests are in competition with King Solomon's priests. Because when you start to study Zoroaster, you start to see the relativity of what was going on during that time period. I'm just going to pull out what I'm noticing. I'm just going to lay down the facts and be like, these are the characteristics of Zoroaster, and these are the characteristics of what's written. And I'm just going to leave conclusions to everybody else. I'm not going to do any conclusions. Yes, correct. Yeah, it's a metric. Yeah, that's part of the games. Yeah. Yeah, competent and competition are identical related. So it's really interesting that I cannot find the word temple. I'm going to have to really dig hard on that one to find temple. As soon as because the concept of altar, atar, came from Persia. Yeah, there's a lot that's starting to put together. Ataskade, Ataskada, fire temple, Ataskada. And they didn't even have, the Hebrews didn't even have a word for temple. So Solomon's temple, they would have called it Solomon's sacred place. That's what they would have called it. They would have called it Solomon's mikdash. They would not have called it a temple. That's deep. Yeah, there's a lot we would have to dig into. There's so much. So when you start to, and what this comes down to is the victor gets to write the books. That's it right there. The victor gets to write the books. So when you figure out who the victor is, and here's the thing is, the person who's in charge is the person who really needs to be questioned. That's really it. Like, okay, so you're telling us your version of this. What about the person who was like conquered? What's their version? The problem is you never get to hear the conquered version point of view. You never get that. What you only get is, oh, thank you. What you only get is the victor's point of view. But the victors, in most cases, are the bigger aggressor, the biggest bully, the biggest. So now it's like a, interesting. It's very like, let me look at the other point of view. Now, here's the thing is, when you have the other point of view, it tells the whole story. You can find the common denominators. So if you want to cover your tracks, wipe out your enemy. Don't let them speak. That way they have to take your word for it. So now you're looking at it going, why can't I find the word temple? And it would be a word that literally begins just TMP. And it would then have a definition. That's what we are looking for. It would be a word that literally is temp, and then it would just be the definition. Like temporary, temple. So let's look up the word temporary. Temporary etymology. And when you do that, tempus, time, temporius. See right here, it's tempus, which is Latin. So temporary comes from tempus. You see how the word is getting longer? That's because the word is growing. That's morphology. So you have temporary, which goes back to temporus, which goes back to tempus, which is time. Time. Time, which is tempus. So what is the ancient Hebrew word for time? Zaman. Okay, so nope, that is not it. Okay, so what is the ancient Persian word for time? Zaman. Okay, so zaman. So it's the same word. So it's not time. This is driving me crazy. This is driving me nuts. And where the fuck did the word temple come from? Because there's a lot that's just not making sense here. There's going to be a common denominator, and I've done this like 4 or 5 times before. When you find the common denominator, you can translate it back, and then you find the word and it matches. And when you've got a match, you've got the actual origin. So whoever owns the actual origin to the word temple is the actual owner of Solomon's temple. The question is, what language is that? So if you can connect the word temple to the origin language, which is whatever language Latin took from it, because Latin is incomplete. That is an abridgment on a different word from a different country, and I can't find it. I cannot find it. It is not Hebrew, and so far it is not Persian. So it is going to be one of the Middle Eastern languages, but I didn't study the Middle Eastern languages, so I have to go back and look it up to find what ancient language used the word temp, T-E-M, or T-M-P, and that's what we're looking for. We are looking for the word T-M or T-M-P in an ancient Middle Eastern language. That means something relative to school or education, knowledge, wisdom, mind, something. And once you have that, it connects it, and there is your origin, and that is the actual language that Solomon's temple made. That's literally the origin. Now, and that's it. What did Solomon himself call this thing? And that's the question, is what did Solomon himself call this thing? But if Solomon wasn't Hebrew, then it wouldn't be a Hebrew word. If Solomon wasn't speaking Persian, then it wouldn't be a Persian word. If Solomon has naming rights. So it's trying to figure out what Solomon referred to his own temple as. Because the minute you see the word Latin, oh, well, that means the Holy Roman Empire just went in and put whatever the fuck they wanted in during the Council of Nicaea. It's garbage. Which it looks like that's exactly what they did. So Solomon's temple, no, that's got Rome written all over it. So now it's like, okay, so where are we on this? Yeah, this is like, what did they do? So, a place a place of knowledge, a place of wisdom. And here's the other thing is when you look up the word worship, worship is actually to learn. To learn and to celebrate, which is the same thing. You cannot, to celebrate something is to learn it, is to nourish it. So worshiping is celebrating, learning, nourishing, which is really the original concept of school, is a place to celebrate it, learn it, and nourish. Celebrate, learn, nourish. And the question is, what are you looking to celebrate, learn, and nourish? This is, by the way, reverse engineering knowledge. This is what it looks like. It's going back in time and deconstructing it. This is literally the disintegration part of reverse engineering into the past, into knowledge. Celebrate, learn, nourish. So when you have a place of celebration, learning, and nourishment, yeah, this is the archaeology part of it. This is all I'm doing today is wisdom archaeology. Celebrate, learn, nourish. The question is, what are we celebrating, learning, nourishing? Well, it would be truth, and that would be logos, so that we know. Now you're getting into Gnosticism. You know, I did not look up anything on Gnosticism. My only exposure to Gnosticism was my parents telling me, don't touch it, it's a cult. But they are Southern Fundamental Baptists. So I'm going to assume they know jack and fucking shit about Gnosticism because they were Southern Fundamental Baptists. So I do know that Gnostic, Gnost, is the ancient Greek word for to know. So literally Gnosticism is the knowledge or the religion of knowing. And this is where we're getting into esotericos with a K. Esotericos. So it's Gnostic, which is knowledge again, esotericos, and then Zoroaster, who was a direct student of Solomon's temple. So we got this thing happening here. Zoroaster, Gnostic, esotericos. And knowledge is power. Knowledge is pure power. There is no other power other than knowledge. There is none. There is absolutely none. And you have people who either want to learn or you don't. And then you have people who don't want to learn, but they want power. And then you have people who are scared of the power of others. Meanwhile, people just want to learn. So, and this is something we see a lot of. This is part of the Asha journey, is when you're learning and you're becoming more and more powerful. And you have literally, it's now the disintegration, which is lying, and then learning, which is truth. And for the Asha, for the Asha journey, this is all there is. It's very simple. You have pure truth, and it's a dichotomy. It is absolutely the dichotomy of purifying the truth. And every time you find a mistake, you're purifying your truth until you get more and more closer to the truth. The more purified you can make the truth, the more you can break it down, the more you can stabilize it and get stronger and stronger. And that leads to, oh, absolutely, it leads to what you are, to your core. So let me just take a quick look here. I have a meeting today and I cannot lose track of time. So let me see here. We need to make sure. Okay, yeah, it's tonight at 4:30. Okay, I got plenty of time. I never check my calendar. I'm really bad at checking my calendar. I am terrible at checking my calendar. I have a calendar. I don't use it. I have a really hard problem with this. I think it's because I have so much order with logic inside my mind that order outside of my mind is like, no, I have too much order inside of my mind. I love the order inside of my mind. I do not want order outside of my mind. I want everything to be chaotic on the outside. I need chaos on the outside. I need order on the inside. I need this. And I think there are people who get this reversed, where they have so much chaos on the inside. You know, this is it exactly. They have so much chaos on the inside that they need order on the outside. And I am the exact opposite. I have so much order on the inside that I want outside, just give me out chaos. I want pure chaos on the outside. So the idea of doing a structured calendar or a routine really grates on me, because I'm like, no, there's too much order. It's not, there's no equilibrium now. My internal thoughts are so, this is the order of operations of your brain, that there is no, you get to the outside and it's like, no, I don't want any order in my brain on the outside. I want this to be as purely chaotic as possible on the outside for the balance of the equilibrium, for the order that I have on the inside. And the more chaotic and weird it is on the outside, the happier I am on the inside, because I've got order here. So order and chaos, my mind, but my life. And I love that. But I don't have, and I see this being these swapped around, where people have significant disorder in their mind with significant need to control and order on the outside. And that's where they leak over and they try and order everything, because they are trying to compensate for the lack of order and control they have on their mind. So the more you go down the Asha journey, and even if you're coming in going, oh my God, I want this for myself, just because, this is the beautiful thing about the Asha journey, is there's the Asha journey, but then there's all the tools that come from the Asha journey that anyone can use. So you don't have to commit to the Asha journey to get the benefits of the Asha journey. The more you commit to the Asha journey, the better your life will be. The more you pick up things from the Asha journey, the more your life will be easier, but you don't have to. And you're also running the risk of, well, you're going to try and merge it into your life however you want, which is fine. You're going to notice a massive increase of, wow, that really did a lot for me. But it's all a dichotomy. It's in ratio too. So yeah, you'll figure it out. It's trial and error. But when you come in and you're like, I don't want the Asha journey, I just want to be sane, I just want mental healing. Well, that's what Try to Healing Part 1 is. It's, you don't need to do the whole Asha journey. Just here's Try to Healing Part 1. There's how to fix your mind. Well, I want to be a better parent. I want to have better relationships. Okay, you don't have to do the whole Asha journey. Do Try to Healing Part 1, Try to Healing Part 2. People come in and they want to do Try to Healing Part 3. You're going to have to go on the Asha journey. You're going to have to do the Asha journey. There is no, you cannot do Try to Healing Part 3, 4, or 5 without committing to the Asha journey. But you can do Try to Healing Part 1, Try to Healing Part 2 without committing to the Asha journey. And for reference, Try to Healing Part 4 is Rata. That's when you get to Rata. That is when you come upon Rata. You come upon it. You're not there yet. That's where you get into that's when you're in the Philosopher Bard stage. Try to Healing Part 4 is Philosopher Bard. Try to Healing Part 5, that's Rata. That is where, like, I'm in Try to Healing Part 5. That's what I've been saying this whole time, is this is Try to Healing Part 5. And this is when you step into Rata. And it's like, oh, this is Rata. So Try to Healing Part 5 is Rata. And it's you cannot skip it. You cannot, it has to be done in order. But people on the Asha journey know this. People who are not on the Asha journey, they've stepped in and they're like, oh, I want to do this. Well, you can't do that. You've got to go back to the beginning and work your way through it, because now you want to come to the Asha journey. So the first thing you've got to figure out is, are you here for the Asha journey, or do you just want to fix yourself? Because you don't have to commit to the Asha journey to fix yourself. You can just grab Trident Healing Part 1, Trident Healing Part 2, go to take care of it yourself. And I personally don't work with anyone who's not on the Asha journey. That's not what I do. Like, I am only for people on the Asha journey. So that is, and that's it, is it, because it's, yeah, that's really a lot of it is because it's a different mindset. And it's like an Olympian, literally somebody who's in the Olympics. And then they step into somebody who has I'm going to play basketball as a hobby, or I'm going to swim as a hobby. So you've got Michael Phelps visiting somebody who's like, oh, I love swimming. And he's like, okay. And then they try talking about how they actually don't want to learn how to swim. They just like to lounge about in the pool on a lazy river. And now you're talking, that's like, I love water. I love the work you do. I shower every day. And how is Michael Phelps supposed to make a conversation of that? That is what we're talking about here. There's that common denominator, and I understand it. Now you're wanting relatability, but you're talking about bath water with Michael Phelps. And it's like, if you think bath water is the same thing as Olympic swimming, you're not at all relatable to me. That is it. That is what it feels like. That is what it feels like being me. I feel like I'm Michael Phelps, but not in swimming, in Asha. And then people come to me and they're like, oh, you like knowledge. I read. Okay. And they'll say something and it'll equate it to, I take a bath. Therefore, I understand you, Michael Phelps. Because there's water as a common denominator. Okay. And that's exactly it. You have found stage one of a common denominator. There's water. And there's people who do this where they think, oh yeah, I can relate to you because I understand. And Michael Phelps is going, dude, that is so not the same thing. and that's where I've been for so long. And I finally got to a point where I'm like, I need to not talk to bathwater people anymore. And that's it. There are bathwater people. There are bathwater people. The bathwater people are the people who think taking a shower equates them or makes them relatable to Michael Phelps because he swims in the Olympics. That is what I'm up against. I'm not up against it. That's a lot of what I kept attracting. And I'm like, why am I attracting bathwater people? And I realized it's because of a communication error of, okay, we need to talk about the Asha journey. We need to understand what exactly is part of the Asha journey. And you've got people who are like on Mars. They're so far gone with comprehension, they're on Mars. And they have no concept of the Asha journey. But if you are in the Asha journey, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I know they've had the same problem. And you attract spiritualists. And then you try and get into a conversation with them and you're like, oh, no. We are not at all the same thing. And this is it right here. Spiritualists dabble. They're hobbyists. They're the bathwater people. The Asha journey is like, no. The Asha journey is, there's no word. Religion is so wrong. It's a knighthood. It's a knighthood. You live it, you breathe it, you think it, you are it. You are the personification of it. And that's it. You are becoming the pot. But there's more to it than that. There's so much more to it than that. It's the devotion to study all. I study approximately 4 hours every day. There's no exception. I study 4 hours every day on a light day. On a light day. What I just did there with going through the etymology of temple, that was like scratching the surface. I spend at least 4 hours every day just learning. just breaking things down, just looking things up, just following the trail of word to point me in the right direction so I can find the truth. And then cross-referencing language and finding where things come from. Digging up sources and then sitting down and studying. You know, Gandalf is in, what is it called? Gondor. So I, in my great infinite idiocy, decided to name my city in my books Gunir. So I've got Gunir, and Tolkien called his city Gondor. This is not on purpose. This was done because I looked up the etymology of Gunir. Well, actually, I looked up the etymology of Gun, and I broke this whole thing down and rebuilt this word out of Norse mythology. So I have Gunir. That is the name of my city. Gondor is the name of Lord of the Rings city. And I get those two words confused so often, and it's infuriating. So Gunir is what's in my head because that's my book. So I often call Gondor Gunir on accident. So when Gandalf is in Gondor and he is digging out the archives. When he is digging out the archives, and you know how he had those massive books just stacked? How long do you think he was in there? I can look at those books and tell he was in there for like 4 days. At least 4 days. That's 4 days worth of work. That's 4 days worth of work. 4 days. I guarantee you he was there a full week. I guarantee you he was there a week. I know he was. I looked at those stacks of papers and how deep he went down. That's a week's worth of work. You're in there for a week. So he spent a week. And then you're looking at about 3 days ride from the Shire to Gondor, a week down in the archives, and then 3 days. He was probably gone a full fortnight. So from the time Bilbo disappears to the time Gandalf says, "Is it secret? Is it safe?" Like 2 weeks had passed. That is how I learn on a regular basis. That is where I live. I live in the archives, and that's what I did. When I locked myself in my room for 20 years, that's what I did. I was in the archives, and my room looked like it. I had books all over the place. It looked like a beautiful mind, like things. Oh, yeah, it was a thing. I laid out all of my documents and then mapped them all out on my bed. And every night, it was a ritual where I had to sort and organize all of my papers back into a pile, and then I could go to bed. And then in the morning, I would get up and I would get all my papers and I would lay them all the back over. And then I would go to school and I get annoyed and I bring my papers with me and I'd sit there and do my documentation. And then I go back and I continue my work. And I would be that person who I purposely, by the time I was in 9th grade, I discovered shit out. And I went, oh, okay, I'm going to downgrade and do the bare minimum with the educational system for the government. So I did that. And I found out that it was so easy for me that I could just do the stupid assignments in school. And then there you go. There's your homework. Now leave me alone. And then I could just spend the rest of my time to my own research. So I would either create and do skill building, or I would do research. And that's it. I did research or I did skill building. This is learning. This is studying. So I toggled between research and skill building. And my skill building was play the piano, compose this composition, do this lyric in this poem over here, put it together, study orchestration, build that. Great. All right. Art. I drew. Art was the only time I could turn off my brain. Art was the only time I could turn off my brain. And I didn't turn off my brain because I sat there and I did art. And then I talked about the hypothesis of the relativity to Plato and the Roman Empire and what exactly Socrates. I formed a group that was like a debate club meets a trivia club, meets a chess club, meets a philosophy club in school. That was me. And I had 7 people, and this is what I did, is I led the philosophy club in school for 4 years. That's what I did. And that was all done in the art class. So we turned the art class into a philosopher school. This was fun. I did this from like the 9th grade to my senior year. And that's all I did for 4 years is I led the philosophy club. And we would all sit around and we would talk about really deep fucking shit. We talked about everything you could think of. And then I would go to my uncles, 2 masters in philosophy. One was a theologian, the other was an atheist, and they would debate and they would teach me the rules of debate. And that's while I had my master of philosophy from Juilliard working with me with Plato's work as well. It was brutal. Like, it was brutal work. And all of this would integrate together, and I would do art while I did philosophy. So I would actually lead the philosophy discussion while my brain turned off and I just drew shit. So that's art to me. My brain was turned off and my hand just did shit. I have no idea. Lizzie, do you do that? Does your brain shut off when you do art, or does your brain stay on? Do you think when you do art? She thinks when she does art. So I don't know what the fuck I did. And every time I do art, my brain shuts off. It's the only time I get peace. I'm going to do art. And it turns off.
Well, only when I'm focused.
Only when you're focused?
Yeah, if I'm doing like small doodles and nothing.
You do or don't think about it when it's small details? You don't think about it when it's small details. It's just hand movement. Oh, it's muscle memory. Oh, that's fascinating. You've put it into muscle memory. Interesting. Yeah, see, so I have a gap when it comes to the art. I'm starting to go, I wonder what this is going to do for the gap in my education. Now, it's not like calculus. Calculus, I keep running into it. Going, God damn it, I wish I had calculus. I really need to get calculus. It's time I get calculus. But with art, I'm not seeing it missing. I'm never going, God damn it, this is because I don't have sculpting. Never. So I'm trying to figure out the relativity of drawing, painting, and sculpting to all of this. I can't figure it out. I cannot figure out its purpose. But I believe that, it's definitely translation. Because when I did reverse engineer it with my daughter, it is definitely a lot of translation going on. It's very linguistic. Like you see, you feel, and then you get image, and then you translate it over into a visual in front of you, and then you put it down on paper. So it's like a 4-way translation. And I'm going, whoa, that's like advanced translation. And I'm already doing that in my brain when I translate from Asha. Well, there you go. I translate from Asha to abstractic, to word definition, to logic, to, I would even say it's actually breath, not Asha. I would say it's translating it from breath to breath, feeling. Yeah, breath definitely comes before feeling. So breath, feeling, and abstractic, energy, and then word, and then logic, and then simplification. Now I can communicate with you. Once you get it down to simplification, that's the point of communication. Simplification is the point of communication. Oh, good God, do we need these words in our lives? Simplification is the point of communication. Which is why Einstein said, if you cannot explain it simply, you do not understand it enough. And this is the most beautiful thing is if you are trying to describe something and it takes this long to explain it, that is how uneducated you are. When you can say the same thing in this amount of time with this amount of sentences, this is how educated you are. When you can say it in just a single point, well, that is how educated you are. So your education, I had an epiphany on this. This is déjà vu. Education is relative to how simple you can explain it. Einstein. I cannot argue that, like, there's nothing else to say there. Education is relative to how simple you can explain it. Newsflash. It takes your teachers 12 years to teach you one subject because that's how ignorant they are. My teachers can get it down to a 300-word book for all of physics. My teachers could get it down to, here's a 300-word book on music theory. This is all you need. Why do you have somebody holding your hand and walking you through an educational program when you could just read the works of Walter Piston? Let me explain this to you. Walter Piston is Pythagoras is the author of music theory. Walter Piston knew music theory so well that he was able to condense it all into 300 pages. So Walter Piston is the translator for Pythagoras. Okay? That's what we're talking about here. Pythagoras invented, there is no invention. He discovered and he reverse engineered all of music theory. And then Walter Piston, about 2,000 years later, translated it all into 300 beautiful pages. Now you've got some ignoramus coming along, taking 12 years to translate 300 pages. Why don't you just learn from Piston himself and just read? Why do you have an incompetent translator who doesn't even understand the material sitting there telling it to you? Their translation is botched because they're idiots. That's who you've decided to teach your children. The ignoramuses who require 12 years to explain a 300-page book. Education is relative to how simple you can explain it. So when you understand that wisdom is literally the simplification of knowledge into a single seed, which is Plato's point, all you have to do is collect Plato's point and start to reverse engineer it. But in order to do that, you require the seed of knowledge that you can just drop right in front of your lap and go, here you go. Knowledge is the summation of literally life. Knowledge is life. It is the disintegration and the reconstruction of comprehension itself, which is logic. And when you take that and you apply it to the order of operations, which are the 6 logical chain codes, which I believe we did, it was 18 different subset subjects. So you have 6 logical chain codes, and then you have 18 subgenres altogether. All you need is, let's do it, 300 pages. It's 300 pages times 18. You are looking at 5,400 pages total. 5,400 pages total. Now, that's just the reading material. So and I do mean this, from music all the way up to biology, you were looking at only 5,400 pages. You were looking at 5,400 pages total. Now, you're going to want to develop your skills along the way. So you're going to want to use the 5,400 pages to develop your own skills. Now, this has already been done for you. The great books is all you need. All you need are the great books. They've already done it for you. The greatest of minds have already condensed all of knowledge and information into these gorgeous books called the great books. And if you read them in a certain order, chronologically, read them chronologically, they unfold and it literally develops this beautiful, I read them chronologically. I cherry picked the ones I wanted to read and I read them chronologically. And I chose the ones relative to me. So as long as you read the books chronologically and you choose the ones that are relative to your interests, while also reading the core 5,400 pages, you got Plato's curriculum right there. You're done. You got Plato's curriculum. Start with Walter Piston music theory. That's the first one. That's mandatory. So says Pythagoras. And then you just go from there. So it's really fascinating when you start to wisdom it's an entirely different process over here. And I definitely see me going into I will be diving deep into all of these. I'm still building the syllabus. I'm still getting the structure and the definition. It's tedious and it's annoying and I just want it to be over with, but you got to go through it. You always have to go through it. And the only way to go through it is through talking, which is why I'm here. I have a desire to go research and study now. I need to go study and research. I want to go study and research. So in order to understand where you are in the journey is the metrics. You're going to have a metric. Your feelings are one metric. Your emotion is another metric. The amount of energy you spend is another metric. Your feelings need to be, you can tell the difference. Here you go. I'm going to do it down here. This is it right here. So how to tell, how to measure your journey. How to measure your Asha journey. This is a really, really good point. This is it right here. So you can tell the difference between a feeling and an emotion. You feel almost nothing but feelings. Your emotions are very subtle, like 1 or 2 out of 10. Your emotions require no conscious effort to manage. You spend little to no energy to maintain, no, to stabilize. No, you are stabilized. You are stable. You are stable with you are stable without, I want to say this positively, while you are stable while spending little to no energy to do so. There you go. So how to measure your Asha journey. You can tell the difference between a feeling and an emotion. You can feel almost nothing but feelings. Your emotions are very subtle, 1 to 2 out of 10. Your emotions require no conscious effort to manage. You are stable while spending little to no energy to do so. You do not need or require self-care. You don't. You recognize no, you can feel illogic and lie and recognize it. You never feel a magnetic like pull toward something. Oh, there is no pull. The pull is gone. You never feel a magnetic like pull towards something. If you're feeling pulled towards something, yeah, that means you are not at truth because truth is pulling you toward it. Once you get here, it's gone. There is no pull. You're constantly just feeling stable. Your 12 ethics are so integrated that they are mindlessly habitual. Mindlessly and habitually in practice at all times. I would say integrated and in practice at all times. Yeah, your 12 ethics are so integrated. All right, that's redundant. That you are mindlessly and habitually that they are mindlessly and habitually in practice at all times. Your synapses, no, I'm just going to say it. You can talk and comprehend as fast as you think and learn. You can learn faster than you grow. That's a big one. You can learn faster than you can grow. So that I just put down in the video description, and you can go through it and read it. That shows you what Rata looks like. That is like a good solid, there's your archetype. And then you can, in relativity too, and it's all about using your emotions and your feelings to measure. It's a combination of your emotions, your feelings, and also that pull. That's it right there. Your emotions and your feelings with that pull. Those three things combined. If you are asking somebody, this is a really big one. If you don't know what your visions are, you're not at Rata. You are not anywhere near Rata. You are nowhere near. If you don't even know what your visions are. And if you don't know what your past life memories are, you're nowhere near Rata. That's something you know without having to learn from somebody else what those things are. So that's a really good marker, is you know what your visions are. You know, because you can see them. You know what they are. You have the logical comprehension to sit down and explain them. So there's a difference between knowing something, and here it is. You know something when you can explain it simply. That's it. And you've got to be honest with yourself. If you can explain it simply, but you also can't explain the science, you have a placeholder. If you can explain it simply and you still feel that pull to go towards somewhere, nope, you're not there. What you've done is you have a placeholder that's supplemented it in there, because you won't know the truth until you're at Rata to be able to explain it simply and logically. So it has to be both simple and logical. And that is only achieved at the point of Rata. And you do not need a teacher. This is why you don't need a teacher, is because you've got Rata. You just reverse engineer it. You don't need a teacher. And you certainly, if you can read a book, you certainly don't need a translator. That's something I never understood about schools. Here's the book. Okay, now shut up so I can read. And then they would just talk. Why are you talking? I can just read. And he certainly knows more about it than you do, because he wrote the fucking book on it. So why are you translating an author? And this goes back to the church concept of, we're going to give you the book, but we know you can't read, so we're going to teach it to you. But you taught us how to read. So why the fuck are you still here, teacher? You taught me how to read. Why are you still here? And it's literally just for their own ego. There's no other. As soon as you teach someone how to read, unless you don't have books in the classroom, you should not be present. The child should be doing this all on their own. And the Asha journey for a child is not really any different than an Asha journey for an adult. For a child, it's still somebody who values the education. And what you have, and not everybody's going to want the Asha journey. So I honestly, that's really it, is, do you want your child to be on the Asha journey? Does the child want to be on the Asha journey? If your child says, hey, yeah, I want to be on the Asha journey, okay, completely like back up. And this is where we're having a problem, I believe, is we have people, and this is it right here. You have an educational system that has nothing to do with Asha, nothing to do with Rata. And you've got people who are on the Asha journey, and there's no school for them. And that's really, and it's you're putting life learners in with this group of, I hate learning. I remember when I was in school, and I was there for the music passion. Like, I was not a hobbyist. I was there for music all the way. And I was there, and there were people who were there because they had no choice. So there were two types of students. There's the, I'm a musician, and then there's the, I don't have any other place to be and I had to be here. And the teacher immediately could see and separate it. And then when we got to ninth grade, that went away. It was, okay, now you're here because you want to be here. And she explained it to us, how as a teacher, she was like, I can't believe it. Like, you guys are here because you want to be here. And the difference is day and night. And learning is the same way. You're going to have people who I'm here because I have to be, because I don't want to be home where I'm abused. And then you've got life learners. These two groups of people should never be put in the same group. Now, maybe the life learners will rub off on the actual people. But, and that's really what it comes down to, is when you've got a life learner, it's a completely different everything. Life learners are amazing. But again, are you a hobbyist or are you an Asha? Are you on the Asha journey? And this is really it. And it was my biggest frustration for being a life learner. I would meet hobbyist life learners, and I'm like, no, this is not the same thing. I couldn't even relate to them. And we would get into a conversation, and I could tell right away, oh, no, they are definitely just hobbyists. And there is, no, I'm going to go over here now. A hobbyist life learner is somebody who just reads. That makes no sense to me. They just read. I don't understand that. Because they're never breaking out and writing their own books. They're neither the other. An Asha person on an Asha journey is I'm an avid reader, and I also write my own books, and I also reverse engineer my own academic disciplines, and I also do research, and I'm a wisdom archaeologist. That's Asha. There you go. That's Asha. So understanding which one of these you are, and then understanding where you are in the progress, is massive in understanding the marker on the milestone. The first marker is Rata. And that's another huge thing, is that's your first marker. Your second marker, I just started to be able to feel it and define it, is it's got to be, logically, it's got to be the marker of pure magic. That's it. So it's 36 levels of magic mastery and logos. And that'll get you to magic. So the second milestone is the magical milestone. And this is, whether or not we've ever been there, I don't know. I don't know if the Zoroasters made it that far. It looks like King Arthur did. It looks like Merlin did. I would say Merlin made it to the second milestone. And the ancient Greeks, when they built their culture, they were building it around the Asha journey. So that's it right there. That's why ancient Greek is so special, so extraordinary, is because they were literally building it around the Asha journey. So were the Zoroastrians. They were building their entire culture, everything around the Asha journey. It's really a coming home, a feeling of belonging when you finally oh, this is where I belong. I am part of the Asha group of life learners. And that's it. And Asha, the Asha group of life learners. And then there is peace. There's just, it's absolute knowing who you are. Yeah. Knowing who you are after that. There's so much to say on it. There's just so much to say on it. And as the archaeology, it's okay, I got to bring all this knowledge together. I have to dig out what we lost. So there's like record keeping. There is record keeping of this. I love doing the record keeping. That is actually my coursework, is my records, my record keeping. And that's it. That's definitely it. I have the record keeping, which is the course material. I have the science of it, which is onitimagination.com. And then I've got my HMS Alexandria and Pando, and that's on hold. That's going to be the community, but I tried to start that up too soon. I can feel that now. I know that now. That place is basically sleeping until more Asha people come in. And this is really what it is I'm developing a community of those for the Asha journey. And basically for people who are at Triadic Healing Part 3 and on. So and here's the thing, is these are educational standards that have not been set since the 4th century. So there's a lot of people who were trying to come in, and my standards were not set. My vetting was not careful enough. None of it was going where it needed to go. So it was you cannot be loyal to your religion and pursue truth. Your loyalty cannot, this is a mandatory thing of the Asha, is you cannot be loyal to a religion, to a heritage, to your traditions. You've got to strip it all away. Your loyalty has to be switched over to the truth. And as soon as you're loyal to anything other than the truth, it breaks down. It doesn't work. Your loyalty is only ever to the truth as somebody on the Asha journey. That is the ultimate deciphering factor. What is your primary goal? And because you're sorting out what is man-made for what is natural. You're purifying the truth. And what you need to understand is the stuff that's man-made is just the embellishment in the story part. But if you don't have the foundation of the truth as the skeleton, you're not going to be able to sort out the embellishment from the truth. So what you're really dealing with is the interpretation versus the original script or the original. So you have the original and you have your interpretation. But if you don't know the original, how do you know that what you have is an interpretation of the original? Or are you interpreting somebody else's interpretation? And that's the problem. That is the problem, is you can never interpret someone else's interpretation, which is why Pythagoras wrote the book on music theory. There's nothing else there. The Pythagoras music theory, there you go, that's music theory. It took Walter Piston mastering the science to go, okay, here's music theory. He's not on Pythagoras' level. He has translated and simplified Pythagoras into 300 pages. Okay, so Walter Piston is officially the predecessor of Pythagoras. By the way, Walter Piston is the textbook that's used at Juilliard, just to give you an idea. So you have Pythagoras, and then you have Piston, who mastered Pythagoras so thoroughly that it gave us Piston. So he is the official spokesperson. He is the translator of Pythagoras. Now we have an official translator. The standard has been defined. This is music theory. It is called Pythagoras and Piston. You have the author and you have the translator. You don't need anyone else. You have the translator. Walter Piston did it for you. Everybody else is moot. Now, a teacher of Juilliard is one who absolutely preserves the standard. That is what a teacher does. They preserve the standard. That is all they do. They are the guardians of quality. They are quality control. That is what they do. They are QC, quality control. They make sure that the standard is being met, and that's all they do. Pythagoras wrote the book. Piston is the translator. They are the standards. Pythagoras did, Piston translated. We're here to tell you this is the standard. And all they do is secure and maintain the standard. They got it figured out. They have it figured out. That's how it's done. You're going to have an author, you're going to have one translator, and everyone else is their monkey and you dance. So now we've got a standard defined for music theory. Balanchine would be the ballet standard for dance, ballet. In salsa, we have a gentleman, actually the author, I cannot remember his name. It was Eddie, I cannot remember his last name. He came from Puerto Rico and he invented the New York style of salsa dancing. He is the standard. There is nothing else. There is the standard. That is the standard of salsa dancing. The author. My partner's the translator. You study directly from him. Author, translator of salsa. And that's it. You're going to have an author and you're going to have a translator. The author can translate their own work. Oh, even better. Unfortunately, very few of us actually spoke ancient Greek, so we can't go right to Pythagoras. And that's it right there, is you're going to have the author, you're going to have the translator, and then you're going to have the quality control. And when you are setting, this is it. There is nothing else. This is education. The author, the translator, the quality control. And I do all three of those. I am the author of this, whatever the fuck this science is. I am the translator of it. And here's the quality control. And that's what's going on here. This is quality control. Quality control is where it comes in strict, because you're raising the bar. And now it's a completely different world. It's a completely different standard. So now you're talking about education. Now you're looking at it going, okay, now the author is Solomon. He's the author of this stuff. So author, Solomon. I am the equivalent of Aristotle. We had the same teacher. I'm able to break it down from Pythagoras. This is fucking strict shit. Standard is fucking high. Translating it from Solomon to Zoroaster, translating all of that. Yeah, I'm the translator. So I'm taking everything I know about Solomon, about the ancient words, about Rata, truth, wisdom, accumulating it all together, watching the trail of it, putting it all together, building it. And okay, we got the definition. Here's the translation. Here's all of the corresponding common denominators. Here's the quality. Standard has been set. The standard has been raised. If you're not willing to meet the standard, you are immediately rejected from Asha. Bottom line is, Asha is about the quality. And that's what this is. It's quality preservation. Only someone on the Asha journey will preserve the quality. And that's it right there. That is the difference. Only a real musician will get their ass through Juilliard because they've got a standard. And if you can't match the standard of Juilliard, well, then what the fuck are you doing? Now, you can match the standard without Juilliard, but the standard has been set. And that's where the good musicians meet the standard of Juilliard on their own. And they sometimes, well, can you exceed it? Can you exceed the standard? And that's what we're talking about. We're absolutely talking about when you decide to do something. Warren Buffett is the standard of finance. It has been set. Why would you study from anyone else? You've got Warren Buffett. The standard has been set. And when you go through every single academic discipline, there's a standard, except on education. There has never been a standard on education. There was back in the 4th century, but there is no standard on education. And because you haven't even understood what education is for. People graduating from education going, I have no idea why? Because you don't have the full relativity of the big picture, because you didn't study actual wisdom and knowledge. You studied a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy from some dude who killed his brother. That's what you studied. Asha discards all of that, realizes it, says, I'm going to go supplement, and then they pursue their own journey. Life learners usually supplement their own education, and they learn fast how to learn. So if you want to become an Asha, if you want to pursue Asha, if you want to step into this journey, it's now try to Killing Part 1, because the first thing we're going to do is teach you how to learn. We're going to give you the tools. Now we can get into skill development. Now we can start breaking that down. But if you have any kind of an aversion to logic, you are not an Asha. No. Let no man who has not studied logic enter these walls. It's mandatory. Logic is God here. It is God. Logos. It's in the word. So and this is really the true difference between quality and everything else, is you have the talk on quality. You establish it, you define it. That's what the Olympics were all about, is defining the standard, setting the new record, raising the bar for the next group for growth and evolution. So if you're sitting here going, I'm going to be swimming, great. Michael Phelps is your champion. Don't talk to him about bathwater. And that's it right there. There's no set milestones when you step outside of the world of the Olympics. When it comes to the education, there is no set standard. I'm setting them. That's what I'm doing. I'm setting them. I'm defining them. And I went through the 40 years where I watched the dumb fucks that run the government and education, and they were all over the place. They raised the standards, they dropped the standards, they leveled the standards, they dropped them all the way down to the bottom. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You have no fucking idea what you're doing when it comes to standards in education. You didn't study Solomon, Zoroaster, or Pythagoras, and it shows. I talk to educators, and they're like, well, I have 40 years in education. Great. Did you study Pythagoras? No. Then you don't know jack and fucking shit about education. Where did education come from? Where did it originate? Like, if they can't answer these basic questions, they know jack, they're Romans. They are vaunting. I do not talk to vaunters. This is my boundary. I finally have the word for it. I don't talk to vaunters. That is my standard. Because vaunters are not about truth. They are about ego. Vaunters will say whatever the fuck they know to preserve their ego, and they will do so to abandon truth. Vaunters have no education. They do have the Dunning-Kruger effect. They have narcissism. Why would I ever let them talk to me? That is vaunting. It is boasting without any material to back it up. It is empty of truth. It is without truth. I'm going to show you some wordplay here. The word empty actually translates to the word nothing, and nothing in whatever the fuck this science is synonymous with the dichotomy of love. It is a full absence of love. That is what nothing is. So to be empty is to be completely 100% absent without love. Love is logic and truth and kindness, apparently. I learned that. Therefore, they're vaunting. They're empty. Empty child. Completely void of love. So I have a very strict rule that I don't talk to vaunters. I also know how to measure vaunters. We're going to talk about that, how to tell a vaunter. Oh, we're going to talk a lot about that. V-A-U-N-T-E-R, vaunt, to vaunt, vaunter, vaunted. The word is a breathtaking word and one we are much needed in our culture. Where did it come from? Etymology. Vanus, from Latin vein, empty, then to vantare, into late Latin, avant in Middle French. And it fell into decline around the 1850s. By 1900, it was down to nothing. And then 1950s, it's completely gone out of our culture. It is barely recognized. But the word is vaunt. A vaunter, yeah. It's a beautiful word. Oh, good God, is it? I love everything about this word. The verb, that's what I'm looking for. When it comes to the word temple, see, a word always begins with the prefix, and then it grows into the verb. And then it grows into, I want to say, a gerund. So this is the evolution of word. And when you find the prefix of the word, you find the origin. When you find the verb, you find the origin. So you are looking for the prefix and the verb of a word, and that's its parent. That's its owner. You're looking for naming rights, which means if they invented the word, it's because they needed it, which means they were building something at the time that they needed it. So the word vaunt was built at a time when they needed it. Prefix and verb are always naming rights. So when Pythagoras named philosophy, it's because he needed the word. So he invented it from the Persian Philo and then Sophie. Well, Philo is Greek, but Sophie. And then he did the Persian thing and he reversed it. Yeah, Pythagorean had way too much influence in Persia to establish ancient Greek. Like he absolutely merged his languages. So yeah, linguistics is a huge part of this. This is like, linguistics is vast. Study ancient Greek. That is going to be a massive, I remember when I was a child and I was like, I want to speak ancient Greek fluently. Like I wanted nothing more than to learn ancient Greek. Oh my God, did I? It's so funny. So Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So thank you so much. And may the truth always find you.